What's up guys, how's it going? Today I want to record a tutorial video for one of my favorite newcomers to Tekken 7, Josie Rizal. Josie, as you know, is the replacement character for Bruce Irvin. Just the second time he's been replaced in the series. The first time was by Brian Fury back in Tekken 3. But she's one of my favorite newcomers. I really like this character a lot, and I wanted to make a tutorial video just going over what type of character she is, the different things that she can do, how can she be played, essentially just a decent beginner tutorial video for people who are looking to pick up Josie. So first of all, in terms of what type of character she is, Josie I like to describe as a very well-rounded character. She has great tools for approaching the opponent from a distance. She has above average punishment, I would say, especially in terms of her 14 frame and 12 frame punishers. Let's see, she's got lots of really good homing and tracking moves, a really good game plan for her Okazemi. So I wouldn't really say she specializes in one thing. She's just a really good and well-rounded character. I would generally recommend her for intermediate players. I don't think she's the best beginner character, but she's not the worst either. So if you're new to Tekken, she will not be a bad character for you. You're just trying to find a character to begin the game with, and you really like Josie Rizal. So, first of all, the first thing I would like to go over is her punishers. So let's start with her standing punishment, and then we'll get into her while standing punishment. And also, you should be able to see at the bottom of the screen, but I do have Tekken bot running to help us with our frame data, because I'm very forgetful, and I want to make sure I get everything right as I'm going along. So let's start with her 10 frame punishers. For 10 frames, she has essentially two moves. She has 1-2-2 and 1-4-3. 1-2-2 is less damage, but it is the one that I would recommend you do whenever applicable, because this move is +9 on hit, and it leaves you at a really good range. So if this ever hits the opponent, you're free to do whatever you want to for the most part. Your opponent cannot do much of anything, being at +9 and at this range. 1-4-3, on the other hand, it does 4 points more damage, 29 compared to 25. Not a great increase, but it is only +1 on hit, and +1 is really insignificant for the most part. You know, it's frame advantage, but it's next to nothing. Let's see. So if I were you, I would do 1-2-2 every time. Just the frame advantage you get with this for giving up 4 points of damage is spectacular. Also, 1-4-3 is -15, launch punishable. 1-2-2, I believe, is only minus. I believe the move is only -13 on guard. Let's find out really quickly. And I just started, and I'm already having to use Tekken bot. It is so you have -13 compared to -15. So I would definitely recommend to you to do 1-2-2 every time. The only time I would say go for 1-4-3 is if you are certain a 10 frame punish will be enough to kill your opponent. If you are certain, just to make sure you get those last few points of damage. If you're going for the kill and you block something that is -10 or -11 with the Josie, then that is when you want to use 1-4-3. Next, at 11 frames, she has back 1-2. Back 1-2 is only this move is only +6 on hit. However, um, is the start of a string, which we will go over later, which is her back 1, 2, 4, 4 string. So 11 frame punish leaves you at +6 on hit. I think it's only -4, -5, -5 on guard. So it is completely safe if the opponent guards it. Plus, the good thing about this move is you can induce hesitation in the opponent just by them knowing about the last 2 hits. So not a bad move for an 11 frame Punisher. You do get that, but all in all, I think if you want something that is more certain, you may want to consider just going for 1, 2, 2 instead, leaving you at +9. However, this is not bad to do. This I'm not saying that back 1, 2 is the wrong choice. Of course, unless you're trying to kill the opponent, in which you can use 1, 4, 3 like we discussed. So, next up is our 12 frame Punisher. This is what you'll be using for punishing hopkicks. So essentially for 12 frame Punishers, the move you're going to be using is 4, 2, 4. This is your hopkick Punisher, and this is a really good 12 frame Punisher. It gives you 33 points of damage, and it knocks the opponent down. Really solid hopkick Punisher. Make sure if you ever guard a hopkick or any move that is -12 or -13, this is the move that you need to be using. If you're certain, that is. This move is not safe. It's -13, so make sure that you're using this move responsibly in that regard. Other 12 frame Punishers that she does have, she has 4, 2, 3. This is actually a natural combo. You're at 0 on hit, and there is a third hit to this string, which is a forward 2, 3, 4. And while the last hit is safe, it is not a natural combo, and it is a high, so your opponent can easily duck this and launch. However, in terms of using this as a 12 frame Punisher, you can use it if you think a move is -12 but you're not for certain. You can do this. You can do this. While it is high-low, and if the opponent guards it, again, they can easily duck or low parry the second hit. It is incredibly hard to react to the point that more than likely they didn't react to it. They just knew you were going to do it. However, often what will happen is if you do forward 2, 3, the low will hit the opponent, and you'll just be left at 0, and you get a little bit of damage in. So if you aren't for certain, you can do forward 2, 3, and if they guard the high, the low more than likely will hit unless they were ducking, and you don't have to worry about getting punished. But if they, if they're sharp, or if they knew you were going to go for something like that, you'll be in trouble. So keep that in the back of your head. And lastly, for 12 frames, she does have her standing 4 as a 12 frame Punisher, and it is completely safe on guard. It doesn't do much damage, only 16. Leaves you at +6 on hit. It's only -7 on guard. It is linear, it can be stepped in both directions. But again, it's a safer option for 12 frame punishment if you're not certain that the move that you're trying to punish is -12. However, you do want to eventually reach a point where you can say, okay, this move is -12 or -13. Let me do forward 2, 4. This is the move that you want to be using for your 12 frame punishment, especially against those hopkicks. Next up from 12 frames. For 13 frames, she does have her standing 3, which does have good range. However, you're not really going to be using this as a Punisher. This is more so used for a poke type move. So it is 13 frames, it is mid, it is safe, and you get a tiny bit of frame advantage on hit. However, just keep in mind that if you block something that's a -13, again, this is what you want to be using. Next up, moving forward, we have her 14 frame punishment. which sometimes it is and sometimes is not a launcher. So let's go over that now. So Josie has two 14-frame punishers, and the one that you will be using the vast majority of the time is her forward 1+2. Forward 1+2 is not a launcher without rage. However, it is a very, very high damaging 14-frame punisher that has good range. Essentially, if you ever hit the opponent with forward 1+2 as a punish, what you want to do afterwards is forward 1+2, a tiny dash into her down forward 1-4-2 string, and let me demonstrate. Like that. And again, all that is you're doing forward 1+2, a tiny, tiny, tiny dash, like you barely see her move forward, and then down forward 1-4-2, which is this string. And if you do it right, it looks like this. Gives you 49 damage and great Okazemi. And this is not hard to do, not hard to do at all. And also, if you know it'll kill and you just, you want to do something even easier, you can do down +3+4 as a combo. So that would look like forward 1+2, down +3+4. But if you're not for certain, make sure you're doing forward +1+2, micro dash, down forward 1-4-2, down forward 1-4-2. And you have to make sure, if you don't get the dash, that's what you get. You'll get that whiff, and you definitely don't want that to happen, so keep that in mind. Also, it's worth noting that forward 1+2 is very safe on guard. It's only -5. So it's not, outside of being a high, and a little bit linear as well, it's not the worst move to approach your opponent with, but we'll come back to that later. But if you try to use it as a punisher, and you're playing online and it didn't quite come out in time, or you just mess up the input for it and they guard it, you'll be fine. And the next thing you need to know about this move, in terms of punishment, is if you have raged, it goes from being a good 14-frame punisher to a fantastic 14-frame punisher. When she has rage, by doing her rage drive after the forward 1+2, this move becomes a launcher, and it looks like this. For an easy combo. I should give you a disclaimer now. For this tutorial video, I'm more than likely going to be teaching you her most simplified combos that don't sacrifice too much damage. For the sake of simplicity, and just to give you the combos that you'll be able to perform the easiest in match that are still viable. So the input for this is like this. After you do forward 1+2, in order to do her raise drive, it is forward neutral, down down forward, 3+4. Oops. If you mess it up, more than likely you will get her armor move. So make sure you practice it. Forward neutral, down down forward, 3+4. It's not hard to do unless you're trying to make a tutorial, but that's what you do immediately afterwards. And then it is standing forward, forward 2, 3, 4, dash up, forward 2, 3, 4. Alternatively, after the raise drive, you can do standing forward, 3, 3, dash up, forward 2, 3, 4. So let's demonstrate that all one more time. Oops. Standing 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, dash up, 4, 2, 3, 4, for 79 damage. Incredibly damaging 14-frame punisher. Standing 4, 3, 3, dash up, 4, 2, 3, 4. Which is only 3 points less, whichever you prefer. However, if you're going for damage, I would recommend you do 2 forward, 2, 3 forwards after that. Dash up. And it's not hard to do, you just have to commit it to muscle memory. Now let's take this off so that we do not get incorrect readings for our damage. Next up for her 14 frame punishment is her up forward +3/+4. Now this move, it is mid 14 frames, and it actually has just a little bit more range than her forward 1/2. In terms of when you would use this, more than likely it would be for if you block something like Paul Phoenix's Death Fist. This is the move that you will be doing unless he did it very, very shallow. This move is here to punish things that have pushback on it. Bear in mind, the range advantage that up forward +3/+4 has on forward 1/2 is very, very, very little. So you only want to use it in those situations because forward +1/2 also has very good range for a 14 frame punisher. And also, the up forward +3/+4 is not safe. It's -13 on guard compared to forward +1/2, just only -5. And more damaging as well. So keep that in mind. This you only want to use for moves that are not safe but have pushback on it. Let's see. And then past that, scroll down with my notes here. We get to her. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about Josie's 15 frame punishment. So for -15, she essentially has two moves. One of them being her hop kick, up forward +4, and the other one that I recommend that you use is her down forward +2. Her down forward +2 is 3 points less of damage than her up forward +4. Down forward 2 does 10 points of damage, while up forward +4 does 13. However, while they're both mid launchers, I would recommend that you do down forward +2 for 15 frame punishment because the range on her up forward +4 is very, very subpar, especially for a hop kick. But down forward 2 has, I'm trying to show you the tip here, a little bit more range. Correction, a lot of bit more range than her up forward +4. So for -15, you should be doing her down forward 2 launcher. Both of these moves also are -13 on guard, so one is not necessarily safer than the other. But her down forward +2, it will launch crouching opponents. It's not one of those down forward 2s that requires a counter hit on crouching opponents in order to launch. It will launch opponents from crouch, and the combo afterwards is really simple. She has many different variations of her of what combos she can do from her down forward 2 launcher, but the one that I would recommend for you to do, the simple one, is down forward 2, forward 1/2, standing 4, forward 2, 3, 4, dash up, forward 2, 3, 4. Now let me demonstrate that without explaining it while I'm doing it. Like that, at 57 damage. Again, that's down forward 2, forward 1/2, standing 4, forward 2, 3, 4, and then you want to dash up and do another forward 2, 3, 4. And again, that's all there is to it. And that's at 57 damage. She does have, again, you know, other variations of combos that she can do. However, the easiest one to do would definitely be just stick to doing the one that I just showed you, and you'll be good. Just do that every time, and you will be fine. The one exception to that, assuming that the opponent is not at the wall, if she has rage, you can do this for combo. So essentially, before or up until the screw, you would do everything exactly the same with one variation. At the end of the combo, we're going to do forward, let it return to neutral, do a forward 3, and do her Rage Art, which is down forward plus 1 plus 2. So let's demonstrate that just so you can see. Like that. And again, after the screw, the forward 2, 3, 4, it's just forward, forward, let it return to neutral, forward plus 3, into her down forward plus 1 plus 2 Rage Art. It almost looks like it would not hit, just because of how much the opponent has already fallen towards the ground. But her Rage Art has pretty good range. Pretty good range. And you get a nice damaging combo at 76 points of damage. However, I would only recommend that you do that if that would be guaranteed to kill the opponent, because once we discuss her Rage Drive and how invaluable it is, usually it's best to save your Rage unless you know that your combo is going to kill. So 15 frame punishment, let's go for her down forward plus 2 and you'll be fine. Now at 16 frames, she has 2 punishers. The first one is her back plus 1 plus 2, which is a high safe launcher at -9. See, the range is so-so. See, usually the tip is right around here, and it will cover tracking to her left side. So if you are the opposing Josie, you would have to step it to your right side. See, just to give you a visual of what that looks like. See, well, we can do that once we get to the moveless part of the tutorial. But again, it's a high safe launcher. It comes out in 16 frames, and the most consistent way to get a combo from this is to do down 3 forward, forward 1 3. So that is, you launch with the back plus 1 plus 2. Then you will do her down 3 forward, which is this string. You want to then hold forward just enough for her to begin to go into that crouch dash, and then you would do 1 3, and the sequence would look like that if you're doing it right. So again, that's down 3 forward, hold forward afterwards, and then do 1 3 for the combo, and that would look something like this. And for simplicity, you can end it once again with our forward 2 3 4, or alternatively, you can do 3 2 forward 1 3, which looks like this. And again, that is 3 2, hold forward, 1 3. Which has a little bit more wall carry when compared to doing forward 2 3 4 to end your combos. It is possible to land a forward 3 before you do your combo there. However, it's not as consistent as just going into down 3 4, which is what I would recommend for you to do. And also, let's see, for 16 frame punishment, she has this as well, her back forward 3, which you really won't be using as a punisher at all. It exists, but and it is 16 frame mid that leads you at plus, but you're never going to use that move for punishment. I should also mention, while this move is safe, once again, it's better just to do a down forward 2 for your launch punish. Way better just to do a down forward plus 2. But it exists. It's good to know. And then skipping finally to her 17th frame while sending punishment, she has forward 4 3. This move only leaves you at plus 1 on hit, and it is minus 10, I believe, on guard. It is. And only 27 damage. The good thing about this move is it has fantastic range. So if you block something that has a lot of pushback, minus 17, and you guard it on the tip, this move, it has you covered in terms of range. But overall, to simplify her standing punishment, just remember these are your three most important ones: 1-2-2, forward 2-4, and down forward 2. 1-2-2, forward 2-4, down forward 2. If you can remember these three moves, you can do standing punishment. Oh, and 4 + 1 + 2. How could I forget? 4 + 1 + 2. If you can remember these 4 moves, you can do standing punishment with Josie Rizal. So, next up we have her while standing punishment, which for the most part is pretty simple, except for one of them, which we'll get to in a second. So, for 11 frames, all she has is a while standing 4. Very, very mediocre for a 11 frame while standing punisher. It doesn't do anything special. It's linear. It does leave you at +5 on hit, and it is safe on guard. Not very damaging at 16 damage. So, you know, you gotta use it though. That's all she's got for 11 frames while standing punishment. Let's see. So, next up, this is the big one, and this is one of the more unique things about Josie, is for 13 frames, she has while standing 2-1, which is a launch for her, which we'll talk about that in just a moment, but so while standing 2-1 is a 13 frame mid launcher from while standing. And this allows her to punish or launch punish many moves that would normally not be launch punishable. Let's see. Now the range on this move is pretty decent for 13 frames. Let's see. The tracking on it is well, we'll come back to the tracking later. That'll be discussed in a little bit more detail when we talk about her the utility of this move in neutral. But it does have decent tracking options. But anyway, so let's go over how to make this combo. So when you land this move as a Punisher, in order to combo, this is going to take a little bit of practice, especially to do in match. The combo is while standing 2-1, micro dash, down 3-4, forward 1-3, which looks like this. And then after we do that, we're going to dash up and do 3, forward 3, which looks like this. So the entire sequence. I messed it up. Looks like that at 56 damage. So again, the only thing you have to make sure you're doing is after the while standing 2-1, you gotta practice this micro dash. You barely even see her nudge forward. Let's see. And also, I have seen where that is not optimal damage. Her biggest damaging combo from that. Let's see if I can show you really quick. It's not easy, you gotta practice it. It's that, but and that string is down back 4, 2, 3. However, I would like to say that that one requires a much more precise dash in order to land, and you're only gaining 1 point of damage. It's much easier just to do forward 4, 3, forward 3, right there, for 1 less point. Way more consistent in that regard. But, you know, it does exist, and some people are able to do it very, very consistently. Now, that is for 56 damage. Alternatively, if you want to simplify this move for while standing punishment, you have while standing 2-1, hold back, forward +3. So that is, you're doing while standing 2-1, After you do it, you hold back, and the moment she sways backwards, you want to hold forward and then press 3. And you get something that looks like this. That is way easier to do. And if it would kill, that's what you want to do. Very, very, very easy combo. Very, very, very easy combo. And now, I would like to briefly go over some of the Okuzemi options after this happens, because there's a number of odd situations that can occur here. So, if you do while standing 2-1, hold back forward plus 3. Let's see, the holding back option is a little bit different once you commit to it. So you should do this, and you do it as fast as possible. Which you will know if you did, because if you do this as fast as she can do it, it will cause a pop-up like that, which is what you want. When that pops, when you see her pop off the ground like that, the opponent has to tech roll. They have to do something. They cannot stay on the ground, because when they stay on the ground in this situation, down 4 can be done indefinitely. So if they're one of those opponents who, you know, they try not to stand up immediately to not fall for Okuzemi, they cannot do that in that situation. Let me see if I can show you what that looks like. I have them set to tech. Let's turn this off. So you can see why they must never stay down in this situation. Now they're lying down like that, huh? Like this. So if they do not tech roll, down 4 will hit the opponent indefinitely. They have to... I dropped it. They have to tech. Now, more than likely, it is what the opponent is going to do. Just out of habit, out of nature. Most people, you know, they want to get off the ground, especially with the change to the Okuzemi system in Tekken 7. Let's see, I'm looking over my notes here, bear with me. Let's see here. Now, alternatively, if they were to tech there and try and stand up, down forward 4 is really, really good, Okuzemi. Unless they do like a wake up, get up move. See, down forward 4 is probably going to be your next best option in terms of Okuzemi in that situation. Just to put your opponent in sort of a think fast. Think fast scenario, which there's a little bit more to it, and I would like to go more into detail for that, but I'll probably do that in a separate video. Just all of the options that she has off of the backstory here, because there's actually a lot to discuss from it. So just keep those two things in mind though. You have while standing 2-1, hold back forward plus 3, and you also have while standing 2-1 micro dash down 3-4. I messed it up. Down 3-4 forward 1-3 in that situation for a combo, and then you would dash up and do then 3-4-3. And it's going to take practice, and you'll drop it a lot when you're first learning this, but it's what that is what you want to do every time. One last thing I would like to mention about this as a Punisher. If this ever knocks the opponent towards the wall, you do not need to micro dash. You can just do down 3-4, and it'll pick them up normally. Sometimes it even floats them in a normal situation so that you can dash up and get forward 2-3-4 as your combo ender. So just keep that in mind. If this ever knocks the opponent towards the wall. Next up from while standing punishment, it's actually at 14 frames she has up forward plus 3 plus 4, which again has really good range. And then at 15 frames she has her hop kick, which you're probably never going to use this as a while standing Punisher. More than likely, you're just going to be sticking with that as your option. Once you have the combo down, of course. So that's pretty much it for her punishment game. The next thing I want to talk about are her throws. So Josie's throws are, I would say, a little bit above average. She only has, her only throw mix-up is between her 1 grab and her 2 grab, which can be broken with either 1 or 2, and her 4 plus 3 plus 4, which is a 1 plus 2 break. However, I just want to briefly go over them all and say why I think her throws are just a little bit above average. And that comes from her forward-facing 1 plus 3 grab and her forward-facing 2 plus 4 grab. So, in these situations, if you ever land a generic 1 throw or generic 2 throw on the opponent, what you want to practice is this. If you are on point with it, if you are on point, down plus 4 is guaranteed after both of these things. From the moment you can do the move, I'm messing it up here. The timing's a little bit awkward, but from the moment you can do down plus 4, which you normally can do when you're not doing tutorials, I want to show you at least one time so you can see what that looks like that. No matter what the opponent does, down plus 4 is guaranteed. If they lie on the ground, down plus 4 will hit them. The only way that they can potentially guard this down 4 is they would have to stand up and immediately hold down back or low parry, in which case that means you did it too slow. However, if you do it just right, even if they were to try and retaliate in that way, if the opponent stands up after either one of these grabs and you did it as fast as possible, you will actually hit them so that they recover with their back facing towards you. And of course that's what it looks like if you mess it up. It's a tight timing, but it is guaranteed. They are unable to roll away from it like that. They're unable to roll away. They can't stay on the ground. It's a guaranteed move. And ideally, if they try to stand up, the downfall will hit them and their back will be facing towards you, which is greatly to your advantage, and you will be at +1. Now, if you don't feel confident in doing that, you can just go into her standard Okazemi, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. Now, her side throws, she gets nothing guaranteed from either one of them. They look really cool, though. She kind of beats them up with their elbow. Nothing is guaranteed off of them, but it still leaves them in a highly disadvantageous situation, and you can essentially mix them up with your down 4, your 4 crouch, down 4 plus 4, which we'll talk more about later, or, you know, if they really don't want to get off the ground, you can just do down plus 3 plus 4. And from back turn, or she grabs them in the back, I should say, she does this really sick looking grab. Again, nothing is guaranteed off of that one, but it's 50 damage, and leaves them close enough so that you can implement your wake-up game. Now, her last grab is her 4 plus 3 plus 4, probably her most important one. It's 40 damage, knocks them back a little bit. And open ground, you don't get anything guaranteed off of this. And at this range, it's probably best to do your a mix-up using your crouch dash, like approaching the opponent with crouch dash 3, which does sit on the ground, or crouch dash if you think they're going to stand up. 4 plus 3 is really good, or just a 4 plus 3 by itself, I should say. But you can sometimes do the crouch dash animation just to make them think the low's going to come out, nothing comes out, and you just do the 4 plus 3. However, there is something that should be noted, which is really important for this one. This grab is part of her wall game. So if you ever have the opponent cornered, and you successfully grab them with 4 plus 3 plus 4, this will create a wall splat. in which case you can do any of your usual wall splat combos, which we will go back over later on. Let's see, so we covered punishment, we covered her throw game. Now, this is the fun part. Let's go over her moves. Her move list is not incredibly long. See, truly it caps out at about right around 68 moves, not counting the taunt, the 10-hit string, and the grabs, all that stuff. But we're going to go over all of them just to make sure we have a decent understanding of what each one of these moves do. Let's see. So I'll have the move list assist me here. Let me get some water.
Get ready to fly. Take this.
Right. So her Rage Art. Down 4 plus 1 plus 2.
Ready to fly.
This Rage Art starts up in 20 frames. It is a mid. It is interrupt. One of those Rage Arts where I'm sure you've seen situations where the opponent, you'll see their limbs move like they're getting ready to do the Rage Art, but the animation does not quite start. So keep in mind it does not start up extremely fast. It takes 20 frames. However, it is mid, and it has really good range. Turn on the rage here.
Get ready to
Tip is right around there. She kind of zipped forward before doing that big uppercut. Let's see. This Rage Art used to have a different animation, which I greatly prefer this one. Personally, it was a copy of some Calibur game. I don't know his name. But anyways, down 4, 1 plus 2, that's your Rage Art. It does what Rage Arts do, just keep it in mind. But next up, this one's important. Her Rage Drive. So her Rage Drive, it's almost like you're doing a wave dash motion. It's forward neutral, down forward, plus 3, plus 4. Now this Rage Drive is incredibly good. It is a mid plus frame launcher. I think it is, let's see, plus 8? It is. Plus 8 on guard. It's got pretty good range. It is sidesteppable, or correction, sidewalkable in both directions, but let's see, it can still clip the opponent if you, say, delay the crouch dash animation. It'll still catch opponents attempting to sidestep sometimes. However, a solid sidewalk will make this move whiff, and you're probably dead at that point, so keep that in mind. So not only is it really plus on guard, on hit it is a launcher. And the combo that you want to do, assuming there's no wall, will be launch with the Rage Drive. You want to do standing forward, 3-3, forward, neutral. Make sure you return to neutral so you don't accidentally get a running 3 or flash kick. Forward plus 3, 3, forward, 3. So let's see what that all looks like in motion. At 74 damage. Highly damaging. I did it a little bit too slow there. Like that. So really high damaging combo starter, and on guard, they are at just the right range where you can mix them up with either a down 4 or a down forward plus 4. Let me have the opponent guard so you can see. It leaves you plus enough, and it leaves you at a range where they will not be able to escape from this move, even if they were to attempt to sidestep. So down 4 plus 4, or down 4 after that are both extremely, very good options. And just keep in mind your combo, if it were to hit. And lastly, of course, the best thing about having this Rage Drive armed and ready is, when you have this Rage Drive ready to go, the opponent will be more reluctant to duck your crouch dash plus 3s, because in their mind, they're like, man, you know, worst case, okay, here comes the crouch dash, let's see, Worst case scenario for me, it's just going to be a crouch dash 3. He's going to get a +4, but I'm not dead. Compared to eating the whole launcher, you know. There would be much more reluctant to duck a crouch dash while you have your rage armed and ready. So let's take this off. So you get a little bit of it's a tiny smidget of extra damage on your moves when you have rage. It's nothing like it was in say Tag 2 or Tekken 6, but it is there. Excuse me. Get some water here. Okay, so the first, I suppose you would say, normal move she has. 1-2-2. We discussed this earlier. This is just her 10 frame Punisher. Let's see, the one that I would recommend that you do every time. Not safe on guard, and see, the tracking on it is essentially non-existent. So 1-2-2, your go-to 10 frame Punisher. When you block something that's just unsafe. Let's see. What do we have next? 1, 2, 3. Ah, this move. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, and see, one final option, which I'm assuming is below this. It is 1, 2 down, 4, 4. So let's see. So let's briefly go over all of these options. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, and 1, 2 down, 4, 4. Now, these moves here, you're not going to be using them all too often. I wouldn't really consider these staple moves, but let's just briefly go over their utility. So, 1, 2, 4, it is not a natural combo. I don't even think it combos on counter hit. It doesn't. However, if they guard the 4, it is a high, it can be ducked, so there is a lot of risk to it. But 1, 2, 4 on guard is the exact same as if they had guarded her down forward 4, or down forward +4 on guard. Like, what it does is it leaves her in switch stance. Josie, you can see she briefly switches her legs. And this is a stance in which it has very, very good tools that we will go over in a moment. However, just keep in mind that 1, 2, 4 is a way that you can enter switch stance. But the ender is a high. Next up, I want to talk about 1, 2 down, 4, 4. This move is, again, you're not going to be using it very often. It can be useful if you're trying to just slightly clip out the opponent for a kill. However, the thing about this move is it is a low, so if they can see the 1, 2, and they are afraid of, you know, they're like, oh, he's going to go into the high, or he's going to go into the low. Let's see. Both of these moves are justified by 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is -11 on guard. And essentially, this mid is for... This move is here for those sharp opponents. Those guys who are able to quickly identify that you're doing this 1-2 string. And they think you're either going to go into the high option or the mid option. Or the, I'm sorry, low option. It is not safe, but it's only -11, so it's not too unsafe. But you would only ever use this against those opponents who are super duper sharp. Super duper sharp. Let's see. Alternatively though, let's see. The low of this is actually -5 on hit by itself. The low is -5, and also this is not a natural combo even, unless it counter hits. Only on counter hit with the low, not the 1-2, but the low is that a natural combo, like this. See, we have the opponent set the guard on, but that still hit them. So they would have to be mashing buttons right there in order for that high to be guaranteed at the end. The high is also safe, but again, it's a high. It's really, really easy to see. If you were to fish for a counter hit after her 1-2, better than 1-2-3 or 1-2 down 4-4. 1-2-4 is actually what you would want to counter hit the opponent with, because and it is important that I mention this. 1-2-4 on counter hit. If the 1-2 is guarded or if it whiffs and the 4 hits by itself, you get a combo that looks something like this. I messed it up. Hold on. Not quite. It's got to be the 4 by itself. And it will whiff at the wrong range as well. So ideally, the opponent, there we go, would guard it. But if the 4 extension counter hits, you get a combo by holding forward and doing her 1-3 extension. So it would be 1-2-4, the 4 counter hits. You hold forward so that she goes into her crouch dash, and then you immediately do 1-3 afterwards. Let's do it one more time just so you can see what that looks like. You can do it too soon, be careful. For this one, you have to give her just a little bit of time. Like that. And do whatever you would like to end your combo. Let's see. And keep in mind, if the 1-2-4 is guarded, if it's guarded, assuming they didn't duck it, you would implement your switch stance, which we will go over once we get to her down forward plus 4, since that's the most important way, or the most efficient way to enter her switch stance. Okay, so we kick back off from here. Let's see, 1-4-3. We already discussed this. Really unsafe. 10 frame Punisher. The 1-4 by itself is safe. See, however, in terms of this move, let's see, the only sort of hesitation you can get from your opponent is them fearing the last hit, but usually it's not worth it. Assuming that you did get the last hit by itself, it would only be 12 damage at +1. So very rarely will your opponent be afraid to move if they were to guard the 1-4. So again, this move really is only useful as a 10 frame Punisher if you need a 10 frame Punisher and you want something that would kill. You would probably want to do that over 1-2-2. Let's see. What do we have up next? Let's see, her 2-3. Got you. Okay, so 2-3 is essentially well, she has 2-3, she has 2-4, and 2 down 4-4. And all this is a 12 frame iteration of everything we talked about from her 1-2 extensions, her 1-2-4, her 1-2-3. You're just skipping the 1 and going straight to doing 2-3 or 2-4, and all the rules are exactly the same. The one thing I can say about this is her standing 2 tracks to your left side, so that would have to be step to the right side, just so you can see what that looks like. Oops. Not quite. We'll just have her do a 1 jab into her standing 2. You can step it easily to your right, but it will catch you going to your left, so be careful. It is steppable, but it does have some tracking to that side. It is, there's a little bit of tracking there, but it's easier to step to this direction than to the left side. But that's pretty much all it is. You're not going to be using, honestly, this in match ever, so I cannot really recommend this move to you. Alright, so what do we have up next? 3, 2, 3, 4. Ah, these moves. Her standing 3 and X extensions. So, this move her standing 3 and everything she can do from it is easily one of her most important moves. So Josie, she does not have a traditional 13 frame mid poke from a down forward 1. Instead, she has her standing 3, where she just kind of sticks her foot out like that. So her standing 3 is a 13 frame mid that has really, really good range for 13 frame move in general. Tip range is right about here. Tip range is right about here. It is it's not very plus on hit. It's only +3 on hit, and on guard it's -8 by itself. So it is safe on guard. However, hesitation can be induced from the extensions. So you have 3-3, which is a mid-high, not a natural combo unless it counter hits. And it is -1 on guard. It is also delayable, so you can mess with your opponent. See, look, there's a really, really big delay window with this. So you can delay it just for a little bit to make the opponent think that you're not going to do the second hit. Let it come out, and if they guard it, it's only -1. You're free to continue your offense, sidestep. This is actually a really, really terrific time to sidestep the opponent if you think they're going to do a move that only tracks to one direction. Let's see. But again, it is on counter hit. It is a natural combo, assuming you do it as fast as possible. You can delay it for just a little bit, I think, but okay, so you can delay it for just a little bit and still get a counter hit combo. But if you delay it too much, it can be guarded. So keep that in mind. I have to remind myself of everything some of these moves can do for me as well in these tutorials. So 3-3 is her safest option after doing just a regular standing 3. However, keep in mind that is a high, and if you're too predictable with it, your opponent is going to duck you and launch you for doing it. To cover that, however, she also has her standing 3-2. So standing 3-2 is not safe. It's -12 on guard. Again, it is only a natural combo on counter hit. If the 2 extension hits by itself on counter, it actually will cause a wall splat if you're at the wall and a knockdown in open ground, like that. So if you're, see, when you're trying to make the opponent afraid to, say, punish a whiff standing 3, 3-2 and 3-3 are really, really good tools to make the opponent say, wait a minute, or one of these two moves are going to come out. See, also, if you suspect that they are going to duck, 3-2 has you covered in that option, and it will leave you at +5 in that situation. Let's see, again, keep in mind it is unsafe, but it's only -12, so it's not they're not going to launch you for it, but do bear that in mind. And you can kind of use this for a little bit of pressure at the wall. Take a sip of water here. Let's see. Furthermore, see, from her standing 3, she can go into her crouch dash by doing 3-2, hold forward. So it's 3-2, really fast, and you just hold forward, and this gives her access to her crouch dash moves, like so. Keep in mind though that if you are to do this sequence, I know we haven't discussed her crouch dash moves yet. All of this can be interrupted if they guard the standing 3. However, if the standing 3 hits 3-2, hold forward into crouch dash, 4 is uninterruptible. That would be an uninterruptible safe sequence if the 3 were to hit the opponent. So keep that in mind, it exists. She can go into her crouch dash from her standing 3 as well. especially if you whiff it for whatever reason at a long distance. You can use that to approach the opponent. Let me check my notes. Is there anything else that I am forgetting for this move? Doesn't seem so. So her standing 3, really, really good mid poke. Also, 3-3 is a screw attack. And there are some situations where you will do this and the opponent did a move that left them in the air. And it will immediately give you a screw. So be ready to combo afterwards. Alright, so let's see, 3-2-4, 3-3. This move, 3-4-3. You're not going to be using this move. You're not going to be using this move in neutral very much. This is essentially a combo. It is delayable, just like the other two moves. However, this move is really unsafe. I believe it does wall splat. However, if you were to fish for something like that at the wall, 3-3 would be a much better wall splat move. If the 3 hits the opponent at the wall, it does give a wall splat, and it also breaks walls as well on balcony breaks. But 3-4-3 is very unsafe, -14. If you were to do this at the wall, you're essentially letting your opponent out the corner for free. Okay, so let's see. What's up next? Spinning side. So, Josie's 3+4. It's a really good homing move. It comes out in 16 frames, which is, you know, decent speed for homing move. Not the fastest in the game, but fast enough so that the opponent cannot see it. It's safe on guard at -9. It gives a knockdown on regular hits. It's got pretty decent range. I think right about here is tip range, and this would be her fastest option for covering side steps in both directions at right about this range. Also, it will cause a wall splat, so you'll be able to do whatever you need to at the wall if this hits them there. 3+4, really, really solid. Let's see. 4, 2, 3, 4. Gotcha. Okay, so hold on, I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting ahead of my notes. In comparison to the move list. Some of these are a little bit out of order as well, so bear with me there. So 4, 2, 3, 4. So we talked about this earlier when we were discussing her punishment. The 4, 2, 3, 4 is a safe string on guard. However, it is high, low, high. High, low, high. There's no mix-up to it. As we were saying earlier, you can use this move if you think something is unsafe, but you're not for certain, or say if your opponent's just a poke away from death. 4, 2, 3 is extremely hard to eyeball. It is not a natural combo. Even if the low were to hit by itself, it is not a natural combo. The only time this will break the opponent's guard is if the low counter hits by itself. If the high counter hits, it is still not a natural combo. This low has to hit counter hit alone for the high to be a truly natural combo. So keep that in mind. That will happen in occasion, especially when you're scrapping. The forward 2 part comes out really fast at 12 frames. So, you know, there will be some situations where you just let that go and the opponent's not ready to guard it. But don't rely on it. It is really, really unsafe of a strategy. Forward 2, 3 is way better by itself and keeping the opponent in check. Although, oh, and I should mention that the low is only -11, so more than likely, if they're sharp, they should be low parrying that. Much, much better to low parry that move. Let's see. What's up next? 4-2-4. We talked about this earlier. This is just her 12-frame hop kick punisher. Make sure you're always using this to punish for 12 frames. This is what you want to use compared to the other 2 options that she has. Let's see. Next up will be list 4+3. So 4+3, there's a lot that I want to talk about with this move. This move is very good. It is a safe mid counter hit launcher. The range on it is okay. The speed on it is kind of slow, coming out at 18 frames. However, I do want to take a moment to go over this move and the type of things that she can do from it, including a gimmick or two. So, comes out in 18 frames. On hit, it is +8, so really advantageous. Advantageous on hit. You can pretty much do whatever you want to afterwards. You can do this in the 4+4, what have you. On guard, it's only -3, so you're at a good opportunity to sidestep, or if the opponent likes to mash slower moves. See, a jab or something like that might be viable. However, let's see. On counter hits, it is a launcher. And the way you can tell it counter hit the opponent, the animation is not extremely obvious. The only thing that happens is, notice on regular hit, her feet scoop back just a little bit, the opposing Josie. However, on counter, there's a big white ring that appears at her feet, and she kind of reels back a little bit more so that her forward-facing foot comes off the ground. And when that happens, essentially if you use a move that is 12 frames or slower, you will get a combo. Just as a tiny example. Oops, that wasn't a very good combo. I dropped it. Those are way easier to make when you're not recording video, or way easier to connect when you're not nervous recording a video. But you get the idea. However, this is what I would recommend for you to do in terms of a combo, assuming you counter hit the forward and +3. So, the biggest thing that you need to learn how to do, it can be kind of hard in match to quickly say, oh, okay, that was a counter hit. Let me go for my launch. Or, okay, that was a regular hit. Let me go for my, let me just continue my offense or something like down forward and +4. The move that I recommend to you to do after this, if you want to get a combo, is this. For back 1-2-4. Back 1-2-4. And allow me to explain to you why. This is where things get a little bit wacky with this move. So, let's say that you saw that it hit, but if you're like me and your reaction time is a little bit slow, and you didn't have time to tell if that was a counter hit or not, or you didn't quite notice the animation, back 1-2-4 will give you a full combo on counter hit, and you can essentially the full sequence would be counter hit forward 3, back 1-2-4, down forward 4, forward 1-3, like this. And then you can just dash up and end your combo with up something easy like up forward +3/+4. And the full thing looks like this. And just do an easy ender like that. This can hit there, but it's a little bit harder, and it's only 61 damage compared to 60. So I would recommend that you do her up forward +3/+4 to end that combo. So again, just so you can see what it looks like. This is also good because this string in particular, after 4+3, because back 1-2 comes out in 11 frames. It is a very fast move. So if they guard the forward 3 and you weren't paying attention, say like they guarded it, you weren't paying attention, you can just do this, and if they do anything that is 14 frames or slower, if they do something at 14 frames, this will create a trait. If you do it as fast as possible, excuse me. However, if they do anything slower than that, the back 1-2 will counter hit them. In which case, only the back 1-2 will be guaranteed there. Also, there are some situations. Let me record this so you can see what it looks like. Oops. So I have the old move recorded. There are some situations in slightly higher level play where the opponent will guard your forward +3, and they attempt to sidestep and whip punish. Back 1-2, the 2 extension will catch them if they were. This is sidesteppable. Back 1-2 is a sidesteppable move in both directions, but there are those opponents who will try to sidestep and whip punish too early, and the 2 will catch them. Let me show you. Kind of like that, but like that. Oops. They have to be really on point with it to get a sidestep whip punch like that. But if they hesitate just a little bit, the 2 will catch them and protect you. And if that happens, if you ever notice them sidestep and you can see that this 2 caught them, set the opponent to guard all, so you can see. Back 1-2, 4-4. If the 2 extension, the first mid counter hits, is a natural combo on counter hit. See if I can show you that. That is a natural combo if the 2 extension counter hits. They cannot guard in that situation. So essentially you would do the forward 3, do the back 1-2. When you see the 2-4 counter hit, that last hit is guaranteed. But make sure that you counter hit confirm that. Also, let's say that it hits and it wasn't a counter hit, and you do back 1-2-4. Let's see if I can. Oh, here for this. They can no longer sidestep the back 1-2, and if they guard afterwards, let's see. Put this back to this. Essentially, if this hits and they attempt to guard after that, knowing that this string has 4 hits to it, the second and third hit being a mid, you can do back 1-2 by itself and see that they guard it afterwards, and oftentimes they will hesitate out of fear of the last 2 hits, which we'll go over it again in a moment, but the last 2 hits are both very delayable. So back 1-2, really good after forward +3 for all those reasons. Don't get too crazy with it because, you know, you are at -3 here and they can easily outspeed you. Say if you were doing a mirror match, they can just do 3-3 there, they guard it, and you can try and mash this out. But keep in mind that back 1-2-4 is very, very useful after forward +3, especially on counter hit, and if you know how to make it into a counter hit combo. And on guard, it's an excellent time to sidestep. It's a good move. 4+3 is a good move in of itself. Let's see. So moving forward, let's see. One more thing I should say about this. Very often, I do see people who like to do something like this forward combo afterwards. They like to do her standing 4. However, her standing 4 is extremely linear. It comes out 1 frame slower than her back 1-2, and if the opponent guards it, you're at -7 compared to back 1-2, which is at -5. You're just how can I say, and a much better back 1-2 will cover a lot more options than standing forward will, assuming that they guarded or if this hit them, you know, especially if it hit and you were not able to confirm the counter hit. You would definitely want to do, if you were to mash something afterwards, it would be much more advantageous to do back 1-2 just because of extensions that it has. Let's see, what do we have next? This move. So we talked about this move as a 17 frame Punisher, her forward 4-3. This move is very useful, I should say. So it's +1 on hit, -10 on guard, not really insane. But the utility of this move is it has a lot of range, and it comes out relatively fast for a move that has this range. I'm trying to show you where the tip is, right here. So it has a lot of range, so this move is useful in those situations where your opponent whiffs something, however you can't quite tell, okay, they whiff something, they're not right in my face, but they're in that fuzzy zone where you're not exactly sure if a forward +1/+2 would hit them, you know? Or, see, you're afraid they might attempt to backdash away afterwards. Forward 4-3 is great for closing the distance between you and your opponent and catching very, very long-range whiffs. So keep that in mind in neutral. If they whiff something kind of far away from you, and you're about right at this range, forward 4-3 will let you approach the opponent, leave you at +1, you know. You got a little bit of advantage, but not much, so use it, but with a grain of salt. Let's see, Flying Elbow, forward 1+2. So we talked about this move as a 14 frame Punisher, and what you should always do if it hits the opponent, which is micro dash, down forward. Actually, I should mention, you can hold forward as well, and just let her take a step forward in order to get this as a combo. Looking at it, it's actually much easier to do. I have always dashed out of habit, but just holding forward for a second allows you to get her down forward 1-4-2 as a combo there, and it gives you great oversemi. Let's see, other things I can say about this. It's not a bad move to approach the opponent with. In fact, you can increase the range on it by just holding forward after a dash. So say from here you can do forward 1+2. And she can use it to swiftly close the gap between her and her opponent. Keep in mind though, it is a high, so it's not always the best move to approach with, and the tracking on it is not the greatest in the world. So keep that in mind. Just make sure when it hits, you do that every time. You can do down 3+4 as an option, and if you have rage, make sure you're doing your rage drive afterwards to get that big 74 damage combo. Forward +3+4. This is a really good move. So this mid, this is a 16 frame safe counter hit launcher mid that causes a wall splat. Let's see, and it gives you a knockdown on regular hit, only -7 on guard. This move is sidesteppable to, let me check my notes here. This move is sidesteppable to your right side. So if you try, you were a defending Josie, and you tried to step to this side, well, I suppose I can just show you so you can see. So this move can easily be stepped to the right, but going to the left side, it will catch you. You have to be careful for that. So if you are the Josie player, of course, if you notice that they are stepping your lot to that direction, this move has you covered completely. It has full tracking to that side. Now, on counter hits, there is only one way to make a combo out of this. You have to immediately do forward 2-3-4. Everything else, like your typical screws, will make a whip. So, I'm doing, that's not the correct move. Even doing something like this will whip. You have to do it. Or for 2, 3, 4 to make a combo. Like that. And it gives you a screw, and you can do essentially whatever you want to afterwards. So keep in mind when you see, make sure every time this counter hits, you do for 2, 3, 4. Which the camera zooms in and it makes a loud kabang noise when it hits. So it's not difficult. Just be mentally aware of it. Be in a state of mind where you're going to do this when you see that counter hit animation. Let's see. So 4 for 3 plus 4, really, really great number. At the wall, when you have a little bit of frame advantage and you think they're going to step in that direction. Really, really good for those reasons. Her down forward 1 string. So let's talk about this. So Josie's down forward 1 is not a traditional 1 at all. Instead of 13 frames, it starts up in 16. So it's really, really slow for. Oops. It's really, really slow for a down forward 1, and it is -7 on guard. This is really just a string more than it is a mid poke by itself. And let's talk about the options that she has out of it. So the first one is down forward 1, 2. This one is a natural combo, but it is not very useful. Let's see. Not a very useful natural combo. You're at +5, but on guard, you're at -6, and the second hit is a high. More than likely, when you're trying to mix up the opponent with this string, you'll be doing down forward 1, 4, 2, and down forward 4, 4, or down forward 1, 4, 4. I mean to say, like this. So let's talk about it briefly. So her down forward 1, 4, 2, kind of like her 4, 2, 3, 4 from earlier. Only if the low is or to counter hit the opponent. Is it a combo? As you can see, without counter hit, that is not a natural combo. That high is safe at -7, but again, it's very, very duckable, very, very easy to see. And if you ever do land the last hit of this string, from standing, down +3 +4 is guaranteed. And that looks something like this. So really, really big, nice beefy damage if the low extension were to hit that. But keep in mind, it is a low. And on guard by itself, let's see. Let's have the opponent stand guard that. It is -16, so it is not safe. Really, really unsafe. To offset that, though. And also, I should say, down forward 1, 4. Let me make sure. I believe it's a natural combo, but let's check just to be on the safe side. It is. So down forward 1, 4 is a natural combo. But it's only 0 on hit. So if you ever use this like that, you will be back in a truly neutral state, both players being at 0 frame advantage. Now, if the opponent guards the down forward 1, and they attempt to duck the low, or low parry the low, that's where this move comes in. This move is great against people who try to react to that, which that in and of itself is very difficult. Or people who like to mash after the down forward 1, and you don't quite want to go for this string. So down forward 1, 4, 4. You're just doing 4 really fast after the initial 4. It is -11 on guard, and this as well is a counter hit launcher. Similar to what we showed you earlier. you have to do forward 2, 3, 4. You get a counter hit combo from that. So if you ever see that hit like that, be ready to actually that is not a counter hit launcher. I apologize. That is a I was mixing it up for her 4 plus 3 plus 4. This move is a natural hit launcher. On regular hit, you get a combo. It doesn't even have to be counter hit. So if they're just ducking you, you get a combo from this. But just be ready when you do that to see if it hits and do your 4, 2, 3, 4 right there to get a full combo. Forgive me, I was thinking in my mind. I was thinking about this one. I was thinking about the 4 plus 3 plus 4 there, but it's not the. It kind of looks similar, but it's not quite the same move. Not quite the same move. I had to think about it for a moment. So you know, this move is useful. Not I wouldn't say it's great, but it does have its uses, especially against the players who like to mash too much. But don't rely on either one of these. Don't rely on either one of these. What do we have next? Her down forward 2. So, let's see. Her down forward 2, like I said, it's your go-to. This will be your down forward 2 will be your go-to whiff punisher at a close range. It's your 15 frame launcher to use as block punishment. And the simplest combo, we went over them earlier, but just to refresh your memory, would look something like this. There are variations that you can do for this combo, but we will not go over them in this tutorial. This will be your bread and butter in almost most situations in open grounds. Let's see. Also, her down forward 2. Check my notes here. Let's see. This move actually does cover tracking to your left. Correction. It's step to your left side if you are the defending Josie. So if you're the one drawing down forward 2, it will cover your left side. As you can see, the opposing Josie catches me when I try and step to her left, my right side. It gets confusing. However, it does not cover the side which it comes from. In this case, as you can see, I'm easily able to sidestep this to my left. So if you're the defending Josie, you can sidestep it to your left side. However, you cannot sidestep it right. This will cover sidestepping in that direction. So it is also useful for that. Let's see. So down forward, +2, definitely one of her key moves. What do we have up next? Down forward +3. This is a good move. This is a really good move. Not really spammable, but it is absolutely useful. Let's see here. Make sure I have everything pulled up that I want to say about it. Okay, so down forward +3. That is not it. This is down forward +3. So this is move to me is a good low, albeit slow. And let me tell you why. So this move can be eyeball. First of all, it comes out in 26 frames. It is +1 on regular hit, in which case you do recover standing in a +1 situation. The range on it is okay. From about here, this range is its tip, but it can be backdash from here. So it's much more secure if you were to do it close. This move, just so you can see, it cannot be sidestepped, but it can be sidewalked. Let me show you. If you try and step it, it will catch you going both ways. However, it is sidewalkable in both directions. In both directions, this move can be sidewalked. On guard, it is minus 13 by itself. So again, most characters will not punish it too severely if they were to guard this move. It's actually, if you're the one on defense, it is much more to your benefit to low parry this low. However, I would like to show you, again, one thing that makes this While Rising 2-1 so good is it can punish it, or launch punish it. So the consequences will be way more severe. Which is another reason why her While Standing 2-1 is really good. Most characters cannot launch punish this move on guard. However, that's assuming that they only do the down forward +3 by itself. This move does have a couple of extensions that we will go over. So first, we have down forward 3 + 2. So down forward 3 + 2, it seems kind of similar to her standing 3-2. However, the 2 extension in this case is not delayed. Let me set the opponent to stand guard. You have to let it rip. It is minus 12, just like her standing 3-2. Let's see here. And it does give a knockdown by itself on counter hit, just like her standing 3-2. This is not a natural combo. Unless it counter hits, in which case you're left at +5, and that goes for a regular hit as well. So the use of this is, let me record so that you can see. So say if they guard this move, and they were to try to punish the down forward 3 by itself, the down forward 3-2 will beat anything that they try and do. Even if I were to try to do a crouch jab, which is just a crouching 1, which is your fastest option, crouch, in terms of attack speed at 10 frames, this would still outspeed that. This is an completely uninterrupted. On guard, this secrets cannot be interrupted. Akuma might be able to do EXDP through it, and Elisa, but I'm not for certain on that one. If someone in the comments could let me know, that would be terrific. So, essentially though, some people will be hesitant to try, well actually many will be hesitant to try and punish this, just because of the 2 extension. And the worst case scenario, it is only minus 12 on guard. So down forward 3 is a great tool for you're just trying to, you know, make the opponent hesitate. It's +1 on regular hit. And also, down forward 3-2 forward will let you go into her switch stance. And if this happens, and the down forward 3 hits the opponent, if the down forward 3 hits the opponent, it must hit and not be guarded. And you go into the crouch dash. The 4 extension is uninterrupted, which we will explain more once we get to her crouch dash moves later on. But keep in mind, once you have the opponent conditioned to not mash buttons after this hits them, then you can start implementing the bigger stuff, like her crouch dash 3 or her crouch dash 2, things like that. So her down forward 3 is really, really good. Definitely not an abusable move. Don't want to use it too often, but it is good, and it absolutely has its uses. It is a useful, not one that you would want to spam. All right, so down forward +4. This to me is probably easily one of her top 5 moves, if not her best move. So this move is a 14 frame mid. It does track to Excuse me, sorry. See, did I skip a move here? I didn't skip one, did I? I didn't. We're good. So, what was I saying just now? So yeah, down forward 4, easily one of her top 5 moves, if not her best move. It will cover tracking to her right side, in which case the opponent would have to step it left. As you can see, I'm trying to sidestep left here. However, it does not cover tracking to Josie's left side. Really, really easy to sidestep in this direction. Sidestep or sidewalk, both options will work, but it will cover tracking if they are trying to step you to your right side. So down forward 4 is her most efficient way to get into her switch stance. I know we talked about it earlier with her 1-2-4 and her down 3-4. However, and of course 2-4. But her down forward +4 is her most efficient way to get into switch stance. It's a mid. It has pretty decent range. And on hit and on guard, your options switch up a little bit, but not too much. So now we're going to backtrack a little bit and go over all of her options from her switch stance. In which case, I see that they're doing it from 1-2-4. So let's not reference that. When you're thinking, I want to get into switch stance, this is the move that you want to be thinking about. So, first off, let's go over the move that you want to use if this move is ever guarded, and let's explain why. So the first move we are going to discuss is her switch stance 4. So switch stance 4, this move you have to keep in mind when the opponent guards. You're down forward +4, any other way you might get into switch stance. This move comes into the mix when her entry into it is guarded. Not on hit, but when it is guarded. Although you will use it sometimes when it hits the opponent, but when down forward +4 does hit, it becomes a little bit less relevant. So let's discuss that. And I'm going to have this Josie do it so that I can show you the different outcomes. So, for switch stance 1 extension, I'll be referring to it as switch stance from here on out. So, this is the only thing she has that is 100% uninterruptible, assuming that they do not duck, on guard. Even if the opponent does a 10 frame move, if they try and do an armor move, the 1 extension will give you a counter hit launcher. They have to duck and launch. They have to duck and launch. Cannot be sidestepped in either direction. And on guard, it actually leaves the opponent in a full crouch state. So you are at minus, but the opponent is left crouching when they guard this move. Which means their options and the directions in which they can sidestep are greatly limited to their outstanding options. And on regular hit, it is +5 as well. So, which means they really, on regular hit, they can't do much of anything. Just because they are left in a crouch state with you at frame advantage. So, if the opponent guards your entry into switch stance, you get a counter hit launcher. And just again to demonstrate, I'm mashing my standing 1 jab, which is 10 frames, and I'm getting beat out. You cannot even hop kick in this situation. You cannot hop kick, you cannot use the armor move. And again, EXDP might work from Akuma, but I'm not 100% certain on that one. Now, if this move does counter hit, the easiest way, again, for consistency, like we were discussing earlier, is down 3-4, forward 1-3. That will be your most consistent way to convert that to a combo. 4-3 will hit, but it is not the most consistent option. I highly recommend something way easier like this when you get that counter hit, or any other ender. So this move, on guard, if they like to mash, this is super duper important. If they like to mash when she enters switch stance, this is highly important. There will be situations where you challenge them with her 1 extension, and they duck and they do launch it, but you must do it. This move justifies your other moves from switch stance, which we will talk about right now. So let's assume that, you're down forward +4, or however you got in switch stance, hits the opponent. When that happens, the 1 extension is not really, is no longer as necessary. When this hits the opponent, they should not be mashing. They should not be mashing. Let's see. Because, when her down forward +4 hits the opponent, now all the other moves from switch stance are now uninterruptible. So the need for this kind of lowers when this happens. One last thing I should say about this. Down forward +4, 1 is a natural combo on counter hit. And just do this so you can see what that looks like. On counter, that is a natural combo. And also, say if you're on the temple stage, this will break the floor. So say if you do a wall splat, you can do down forward forward, or down forward +4, 1 to break the floor and continue your combo. This does floor break, which unfortunately we only have 1 stage right now that does that. And it doesn't look like we'll be getting any more anytime soon. But keep that in mind if you're on that stage. So next up, let's see, this move, let's talk about her switch stance 2 and her switch stance 3, which are very important. So, we'll start by talking about her switch stance 2. So, this move is going to be one of the 2 moves you're going to be thinking about if you hit your opponent as you go into switch. So, on hit, this becomes completely uninterrupted. It cannot be... The tracking on it is fantastic. Let me show you. The tracking is amazing. Even on guard, the tracking is really good. Like, this option will cover you if the opponent tries to sidestep as well. Similar to 1. Kind of in a heartbreaking fashion, because it almost looks like she's out of there, but it still will get them. So even on guard, they cannot sidestep this move. If it's doable, it's extremely difficult. I've been unable to do it. On hit, it cannot be interrupted. And the last, not only is it safe at -6 on guard, if the opponent tries to interrupt and they fail, it is a big launcher. Just show you. Oh, put up. I say big, but only 58. The walls there could be made a little bit chunkier, but the 2 extension is a safe mid counter hit launcher that tracks in both directions. You can do whatever you need to for a combo afterwards. The easiest pickup from this would just be forward 3. Forward 3 is really consistent. Like that, and all I did was forward 3, 3-2, forward 1-3, like that, and I just dashed up and I did forward 2, 3-4 to end my combo. So if this hits the opponent, if your switch stance hits the opponent, or if it is guarded, you will be using this when they guard as well. Once you have them afraid of the 1 extension from switch stance, that's when you want to begin mixing up with the 2 extension and the 3 extension. Once you have them conditioned to not mash on guard, which is the purpose of the hive, when you have them conditioned to not mash on guard, you want to use 2 and 3 from this. Let's see, what else can be said about the 2 extension. Now, it should be noted that on guard as well, your opponent has to be pretty ready to deal with. If they're going to challenge this stance, they have to use either an 11 frame or a 10 frame move. If they do something that is 12 frames or slower, you will get, at 12 frames you will get a trade, and at 13 frames you're simply going to be, they should never do something that is that slow after guarding this move. So even at worst you're going to get hit by a 10 frame or an 11 frame move. But even then they have to be ready. They have to be ready. Else you're going to get the counter hit and it's just going to be in your favor. So anything that's 12 frames, or at 12 frames it'll cause a trade, and anything slower than that you're just going to get the counter hit launch. So this is, even if you guess wrong and they do like a 10 frame move or an 11 frame move to interrupt this is still extremely good. So even on guard you can do this move very, very often. This is your safest option from this stance. This is your safest option. Now, next up is the low extension. So the low is a homing move. It will hit grounded opponent. So if you do down 4 plus 4 while the opponent's grounded, say you're expecting them to stand up to guard this, they don't stand up, they remain on the ground. This low will hit grounded opponents, and if they mash a wake up attack from there, this will actually happen. Which leads me to the next thing. This low is a counter hit launcher as well. And similar to the 2 extension, you can easily get a combo by doing the exact same thing there. It's 4-3, 3-2 forward, 1-3. Let's see. It'll catch any attempt at a sidestep. The one thing that should be noted about this low, so you will be using, let's see, the biggest mix-up from this is her 2 extension and her 3 extension. Mainly due to this, the way she spins around, it's really hard to eyeball if she's doing the mid or the low. Notice she kind of turns around in both of these animations. However, there's one very crucial thing you have to keep in mind. So if they guard this, similar to her 2 extension, it is interruptible by a very, very fast move. But the most important thing to know about this move is, on regular hit, you are no longer at frame advantage. This low leaves you at -2, giving the opponent the chance to continue their offense. So you have to keep in mind that you just can't mash willy-nilly afterwards. A lot of people do not seem to be aware of it, but this is minus. So for you, if you know they know about this, keep in mind that you are only at frame disadvantage, so that you can still, you can still sidestep. A great option for those who do like to mash after this. This is a great time to do her armor move, or down 4 plus 3 plus 4, especially at the wall. There are many situations where this move will hit the opponent at the wall and they try and mash a button, and you can do her armor move, down forward plus 3 plus 4, and get a wall splat. Really, really good time to do that. But we're talking about that armor move once we get to it. So, and the last move, which I'll talk about, is the forward extension. Now this, let's see, let me record it so I can show you. The forward extension is good. However, some things to note about it. Unlike everything else, it can be sidestepped. As you see here, I can easily sidestep to my left side. However, at the wall, it will cause a wall splat. And it is safe, albeit at -9. It is safe. But in open ground, you don't want to use this too much. Also, if they do a jab, you get floated from this move compared to the other ones. But this move is more so usable at the wall. I know it can be, this sequence can be used to end certain combos. But you don't really want to do this in open ground. It's too easy to sidestep. Counter hit, it's nowhere near as rewarding in terms of a mid as the 2 extension is. So this really is just a wall move. But even then, I would say you're better off doing 2 at the wall. This is, the 4 extension is her worst move from her switch stance. So just keep all those things in mind. You can really, with this stance, you can bully the opponent to victory. This is a really, really good, just a fantastic stance. These mix-ups work on any level of player. Just don't be too predictable with your high and your low extension. And this stance easily can lead you to victory. Easily her best stance. And also, just don't get too crazy with it to the point that the opponent is sidestepping it in neutral. But down forward +4, easily one of her top 5 moves, if not her best move, just because of what switch stance does. Also, one last thing about this, you can go into her crouch dash by holding forward afterwards. That kick you see me doing there is actually her crouch dash 4. And one of the good things about it is, let's see, say if, let's just assume that you're going into the crouch dash, but you think they're going to mash a button. Let's see. The 4 extension will, if they do anything that is slower than, if you do it as fast as possible, if they do anything that's slower than 12 frames, see I'm doing a standing 4 here. Say if I were to mash out my standing 3, that will outspeed it. So that is a very safe option from that. And it will also cover a lot of, it'll prevent the opponent from trying to sidestep as well. And on block it is extremely safe. So this sequence is actually pretty good. Down forward 4, hold forward into or crouch dash 4, like that. There is not much risk doing that at all. And on hit, the 4 extension is completely uninterrupted. That kick where she puts her foot in their face. And you essentially want to use these if you are trying to get to your crouch dash from here. You want to use these to make your opponent hesitate so that you can start implementing stuff like your crouch dash 3. So keep that in mind. Crouch dash is accessible from her switch stance as well. Further making this a really, really, really good move. Say if you whiff this from far, far away, you can kind of use that to give your way to approach the opponent, make them hesitant to go on their offense too fast afterwards. I should say that. I almost forgot. The 4 extension from this, on a big whiff, it is decent for catching an opponent trying to approach from a distance. So it is useful in that regard. Really bad on whiff, but you know, if you ever whiff a down forward +4, and they give you enough time to get this out, that is the thing. So bear that in mind as well. This is sort of like the range out of that. And that's pretty much everything in terms of her switch stats. Just be, again, I can't iterate enough how important this is. Just make sure that you're identifying, oh, it hit the opponent. I don't really need my highest match. Let me go for the mid, or let me go for the low. They're just going to be stand guarding. But, oh, they guarded it. Let me, you know, I'm going to consider using my high, just in case they try and mash that 10 frame. Else, even if they did guard it, I'm still going to be mixing them up with this. It's sort of your mindset for using this. The down forward plus 4 by itself is extremely good. It should also be noted, never do this by itself into nothing. I would not recommend that. Down forward plus 4 by itself is very, very insane. Minus 14, if I recall correctly. It won't show up here, but just to let you see it, I'm going to... I know it's not saying punishment there, but watch what happens when I do down forward plus 4 and hold back as a recording. Just holding back. So my forward plus 1 plus 2, I'll go to 14 frame Punisher will hit, but if I were to try to do a down forward plus 2 there, 1 frame slower, she is able to guard. But just keep in mind, down forward plus 4 by itself is not safe. It is very unsafe. So if you're doing this, you want to commit to something. If they guard this, do something. Do something, you know? Else if you're just doing this into nothing, let's see, you're really giving your opponent free punishment that they should not have. Alright, so we got a little bit away here. So what's next? Ah, okay, so down forward plus 3 plus 4. This is her only armor move. It's got okay range. It is a mid. It is minus 12 on guard. And let's see. What else should I? What are the key things about this? So it's minus 12 on guard. Mid armor. It's really good at the wall. Especially like I said. If you were to land this at the wall and then try and mash it, get out of there, you can do down 4 plus 3 plus 4. Get a wall splat. That's what I was trying to say. This move does splat the wall, and it splats it high enough so that you can get pretty much whatever you want to for her wall splat combos, which we'll go over later. I'll be sure to demonstrate it there. Keep in mind, this is her only armor move. It takes I think the armor does not kick into the 8th frame, if I recall correctly. And late in its animation, it will crush lows. Late in its startup animation, it will jump over lows, but it's not very reliable. But minus 12, not terribly insane. Overall, for a mid armor move, it is pretty solid, and it is usable, but it's definitely not something that you want to be spamming too often. Let's see, what's next? Down 2. This is an interesting mid. So this mid, it's okay. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. So it's really just a simple mid. On hit, it is plus 3. On guard, it is minus 3. It has decent range. More than likely, when you use this mid will actually break the floor on the temple stage in a combo. So after your screw in a combo, or if you make the opponent splat the wall, during your combo, you can just do down 2 to break the floor and continue it. That's primarily when you're going to be using this attack. But it's got decent range for a mid. Really safe on guard. It won't kill you if you throw it out, but there are way, way better moves to use in that situation. And next, down 3-4. Okay. So down 3-4. This is another way she has to get into her switch stance. Now, a few things about this that you must know. Down 3-4 is not a natural combo. Against sharp opponents, they can duck this and launch you. This is definitely one of her riskier rates to get into her switch stance. Counter hit, it is completely safe. And the tracking on this move, this move does track in both directions, but just bear in mind that if it does not counter hit, they can easily duck it and launch it before you do it. However, it is usable. Like I said, it tracks both ways on counter hit. Both hits are guaranteed. Your switch stance allowing you to continue your mix-ups. But it's not the worst low to use in neutral, but if you're trying to get into switch, down forward plus 4 is a much more reliable way. Your primary use for this move is this is just it makes combos very consistent. It's what you have to use after this to get a combo by doing the crouch dash 1-3 extension. So I can't really recommend using this very often in terms of a low poke or a way to get into switch stance. It can happen, but in general, down forward plus 4 is how you're going to be getting into her switch stance. This low is fantastic. Down plus 4. This is, again, top 5 moves. Make a note in your head. This move, you will be doing this move a lot. This low is terrific. So, let me go over its one weakness. It does not do much damage. There you go. That's it. That's the one weakness of this low. It's 8 on regular hit, 9 on counter hit. But let's talk about everything that this low does. So, down plus 4. This is a unseeable, long-range low that tracks in both directions. This will catch the opponent sidestepping either way. So for those guys who like to sidestep a lot, this can help hold them in place. There's plus 1 on regular hit. So you can use this kind of to, begin your offense and to open up your opponent. On counter hit, however, it goes up to plus 6. There's no obvious animation for it. You just kind of have to know, okay, that was clearly a counter hit. I'm at plus 6 now. So potentially leaving you at plus 6, a much, even greater situation. Man, did you see how far away that hit right there? That was insane. But the best part, by far, is this low is safe. This is a safe low. It is only minus 10. This low is only minus 10 on guard. The only characters who can really mess you up for this are Akuma. So, okay, let me be 100% correct about this. So, while standing... I need to have the opponent guard afterwards. There we go. So, while standing 4, we'll not be able to punish this low. The proper thing to do, if you anticipate this low coming, is to low parry. You absolutely... If you think they're going to do this low, you want to low parry. Else, the only thing everyone can get is a crouch 1, which is 5 damage, which is nothing. You're at plus 6, but you're in full crouch. That's the one thing damage-wise every character can do. So this low is incredibly safe, and there's no Lei Wulong with a 10 frame while standing Punisher to worry about. There is one threat though, which is Akuma, if he is sharp, can launch you. He can do his crouching 1 into DP and spend 1 bar to launch you in the air. So keep that in mind, but even then, it is incredibly hard to do. Because they cannot eyeball this low. They cannot see this low. Just as you are doing it. It comes out in 15 frames. That is 1/4 of a second. It's too fast. So this low, you will be spamming a lot. You will be spamming this low a lot. And it's really not worth the risk of ducking it. So in neutral, like you should already begin to see. That sounds a little bit loud. So let's turn it to the next. That you can kind of use, these 2 moves right here are the moves that you can use to open up your opponent. Down forward, they're just stand guarding, and down forward plus 4, if they're trying to crouch you, or just to get in with the mid and begin your switch stance mix up. These 2 moves they go hand in hand. They are so crucial together. Fantastic, both of these. So when you're making your list of what are my top 5 moves with Josie, you've got to keep these in mind. And on regular hits, if they like to try and mash afterwards, of course, you're free to continue your offense with the jab. Standing 3 is really good afterwards. Down 4 plus 4, they try to go for a slower option. If they try and step afterwards, you can do another one. It's just, you know, the possibilities are endless. This is a fantastic one. Excellent for opening up the opponent. Don't get too crazy with it. Don't say, hey man, here's a free low berry. You don't want to do that too often, but it is a very, very super solid. Super solid. Also, it hits on the ground, as we were saying earlier. If you land a forward-facing grab, and if you do it just right, down plus 4 is guaranteed. Or if they stay on the ground, it does hit grounded opponents. But off of her throws, her forward-facing throws, generic ones, down plus 4 is guaranteed if you do it as soon as possible. And in some situations, the opponent will attempt to stand up, and it will actually cause them to stand up like this, which is really, really bad for them. So down plus 4, absolutely fantastic. Use it very often. Let's see here. Down plus 3 plus 4. So this mid primarily has one use, and that is you use this mid as part of some mini combos like this. We'll review this later. It's a ground hitting mid that you're used as a guaranteed hit after certain attacks. Again, it's we talked about it earlier when we went over her down forward 1-4-2 string. If the forward counter hits, that is hit. Let's see. Off the top of my head, it's also guaranteed if you land a counter hit, 4 crouch, down forward plus 4. But also, one thing it does have that you should keep in mind. If the opponent does not get off the ground after being knocked down, this move hits grounded, and it's highly damaging. So it's a mid that will hit grounded opponents, or if they like to stand up and guard low, it will also knock them back down afterwards. So it has its uses. You're not going to use it in neutral or anything like that, but do keep those things in mind. This move is for getting opponents off the ground if they like to lie down for too long, so it's part of your Oki game. It is minus 13 in guard. You're not going to get launched, but bear in mind, if they stand up and guard this move, you could get punished for it. So, very usable move. Just keep these things in mind. Down back plus 2. Okay, so this mid is a pretty decent mid. It's a little bit unsafe, minus 11. But what's good about it is, so it's got good range. The startup is a little bit slow. Decent range, I should say. Startup range is a little bit slow at 20 frames. On regular hit, it gives a knockdown. It high crushes very early on in its animation. This is a very, very good high crushing mid. Against those opponents who like to use too many highs, this is good. Let's see. It is sidesteppable to both directions, but the best thing about this move is, on counter hit, it is a launcher. You have to do a deep dash into down 3 form. This will take a little bit of practice, but so you can see what it looks like. Oops. Like that. Just as we've discussed earlier, down 3-4, forward 1-3, a staple combo tool will give you a combo after a deep dash from a counter hit down back 2. And it's really easy to see if it counter hits or not. So down back plus 2, it is usable, especially in some situations where you are scrapping with your opponent, they're trying to come in with a high. Keep that in mind. And on guard, it's only minus 11, so you're not going to die if it gets guarded. Let's see exchange. So this move here, her down back 4-2-3. Not the most useful move in neutral. It can be used to make a little bit of hesitation. The last hit is delayable. It's launch punishable on guard, but generally this move is used as an easy wall splat combo. If the opponent splats the wall, this is her probably her easiest combo to do. So you can say do that at the wall, make the wall splat, and just do that. The last hit is delayable. And I should mention that, oops, have it. On counter hit, down +3/+4, again, like we were discussing earlier, is guaranteed as a combo. But in neutral, it's not really worth doing it. The risk kind of outweighs the reward. If the opponent guards this, you're giving them a pretty beefy launch. At -16, almost everybody's going to launch you, except for characters like, I don't believe Bob can. Characters like that. So, but mainly you would use this at the wall as an easy go-to wall splat combo. Twin Rippers. This move is actually an 11-frame Punisher, but and it does give her screw. It's not really that much of a usable move because back 1-2 is just better. Kind of like what we saw earlier in terms of punishments. More damage by 2 points, and it's also more plus on hit as well. The only thing it has over it on guard is it's only -3 compared to -5, which is highly insignificant. However, what's not insignificant, harness combo. So this string is pretty good, albeit with some risk. So let's talk about harness combo, the type of things you can do with it. So we already talked about how it is a good opportunity to go into this stance. We'll go into this string after doing 4+3 for reasons earlier. But let's go over it a little bit more in detail. So back 1-2-4 it's pretty linear for the most part. It's not hard to sidestep at all in either direction. However, so the back 1-2 is non-delayable. It is high mid, and it does come out really fast, so it's a good way to keep crouching opponents in check. However, the last 2 hits of this string are both very delayable. Just so you can see, that is back 1-2-4, and the final hit, back 1-2-4-4, also very, very delayable and safe, albeit a high. So this string, kind of in a sense of, I've heard some compare it to Bob's back 2-2. It can make a lot of hesitation just because of the last 2 hits. Also, if anything counter hits after the back 1, the rest of it is guaranteed. So let's see. We have the opponent set to stand guard all. So you can see what that looks like. Like that. So if the 2-inch position counter hits, the last 2 hits are guaranteed if you do not delay it. In order to get the counter hit combo, you cannot delay. You have to let it go because, as you can see here, if I delay, oops. I'm trying to show you the is that wrong about that? Bear with me here. Bump, bump. That's what it was. The last hit you have to let ride if you want the if you want it to land as a counter hit combo. I apologize for that. So if you want to get the last hit as a non-guardable counter hit natural combo, you have to do it as fast as possible. And it seems that from what I just saw there, just so we can confirm this. So if the 3rd hit counter hits, there we go. If you delay it too much, then it will not be. So essentially, if you delay too much, you will not get a counter hit combo. But all this means is what you want to do is, if you get the counter hit, just let it ride. However, I believe that also causes a wall splat as well, which is also super duper good. Let's see. So, however, you can bully the opponent in a sense, just by doing like 1, 2, 4 into like a down 4 or 1, 2. You know, let it rip, and sometimes this last hit will catch them, especially if you've kind of conditioned them by mixing up which hits you're going to use. But keep in mind, the most risk comes from the final hit, because it is a high. Because it is a high. Now, the third hit is only -10 on guard. The first two are safe. So you're only, you know, starting to take some risk after the first one. But -10 is, you know, pretty whatever. You're only going to take a 10 frame Punisher. And even then, often people will not punish this because they are afraid of the last hit. The last hit and its delay. So this string is very good. Don't go too crazy with it. There is some risk. But you can definitely steal some rounds from the opponent by using this string. So back 1, 2, really, really good for that. And it is a good time to go into it after her 4+3 string. Back +4. So back +4. This move is let's see, it's not as good as I had initially thought when I first heard about it. It's okay. It's +1 on guard. It's +1 on guard. It comes out at 14 frames, so it's got a little bit of speed to it, but not much. It's not the fastest move in the world. See, the range is only decent, but it is worth noting on counter hits. It gives you this knockdown curve, which gives you very, very good efficiency. You don't get anything guaranteed, but let's see. Just keep in mind, if they ever guard it, you're at +1, and on counter hits, you get a knockdown. You get great Oki off of it. And on regular hit, it's +7. More than likely, if you were to use this move, it would be, say if your opponent's just bashing too much, and you just kind of, you know, do this for whatever reason. If you guard it, you're still, you know, you still maintain the advantage. Still maintain the advantage. Let's see, which actually leads me to the next move I want to talk about, which was not in the command list, but you do need to know about it, which is their standing 4. So standing 4 is really, really important. 12 frames, it is a high, it is safe from guard, and it's very linear. But when you are scraping with the opponent, you want to use this move. This is your, you know, get off, one of your get off moves. So her standing 4 is a magic 4, which means on counter hit, see on regular hit, just leaves you at +6. On counter hit, the opponent gets popped into the air like that, and you get an easy combo by doing 4 1 +2, 3 3, dash up forward 2 3 4. So this is a really, really useful move for when the opponent is mashing, is being a little bit too aggressive. This move will save you very often as a get off move, like that. If you need more consistency, 3-3 will land, so keep that in mind as well. Every once in a while, the 4 1 +2 will whip, although not very often. But if you want something that's super consistent, you can always just smash for standing 3-3 there for an easy combo. Let's see. So standing 4, again, I don't think it's on the move list, but this is a crucial move. This is going to be one of your, if not your most used, get off move. Because it is very fast and it can greatly turn the situation in your favor. Okay, so Overwatch kick, Tracer kick, back 3. This is a good mid-homing move. It comes out at 22 frames. It is completely safe on guard at -6, so not too awful. But 22 frames, not sealed. I wouldn't consider this to be a sealable move on startup. Got decent range. Let's see here. It's kind of bad on whiff, so do keep that in mind. If you are using it, make sure it is within range of the opponent. There is another homing move when you're trying to, when you're not really certain how far away they are. But we'll get to that soon. But, you know, at about, say, this range right here, this could be, or this should be your go-to homing move if you're trying to catch some stepping. And what's really good about this move is, on hit, you are very plus. That spin animation leaves you at plus 13. So, when this move hits the opponent, your best moves to do afterwards, this is actually a great way to get into switch stance with down 4 plus 4, or if you think that they're just going to stand guard, they cannot sidestep, or backdash, or interrupt down 4. And the same goes for her switch stance. When this hits the opponent, they cannot... Whenever this hits, this is pretty much going to be your go-to mix. Down 4 plus 4, and down 4. The only risk to this, the only risk to doing this, see, you know, outside of them, obviously, say if they were to low parry the down 4, just to make sure that that is doable. Oops. Like that. So, outside of that, the risk of doing a down 4, of course, would be a low parry, as we discussed earlier. However, down 4 plus 4, not guaranteed in the sense of, you know, it's going to be a combo, but they would have to guard this. They should always be either guarding or be prepared to low parry. Which more likely than not, after this, they are going to be stand guarding. Very, very rare that they would attempt to low parry that situation. But the only risk to the down 4 plus 4 extension is at the tippest of tips, it will miss. But I mean the tippest of tips. It is rare, like that. So at the tippest of tips, it will whiff. However, that is more than likely not going to happen. So don't be afraid to, if it ever happens, don't worry, that rarely ever happens. It truly has to be at tip range in order for that whiff to occur. And usually the opponent is, I've never seen anyone get hit by this move and this whiffs, and they are ready to whiff punish. 19 times out of 20, when this move hits the opponent, they are going to be in let me guard mode. So often you can still do it and it'll whiff, and you can continue to do your switch stance moves. So back with 3, really, really good move. And down forward plus 4, and down 4, and even sometimes like a dash up grab is really, really good after that. Not as usable as these two, but just keep that in mind if you ever hit with this move. And on guard, it is completely safe. Okay, so next up. This one. We can talk about this one briefly. So, her back 4-3 string and its extensions, of which it has 3. So, let's go over them. So first, let's talk about the back 4-3 by itself. So it is a 16 frame mid-mid. That is actually safe on guard, only being at -6. Let's see. On the first 2 hits are a natural combo, leaving you at +5. It's got decent range on it as well. Decent, but not great. Let's see. You can kind of use this move. It's not the most abusable move in the world, but let's see. Let's talk about everything she can do afterwards. So, back 4-3-4. This move is only really used after certain combos, which we will be discussing. Only used after certain combos, as an ender. That's essentially the only use for this. It's way too unsafe to mix up the opponent with, as to whether or not you're going to do it. That's where the extensions come in. And for these, I'm going to need to record so that you can see, oops, exactly what it is they do. I can't show you that. So, if you want to mix up your opponent with the extensions of the string, you're going to be using back 4-3 down 4 and back 4-3 down 4-4. First, back 4-3 down 4, which is this right here. So this is, you saw it right there. There is something unique about this move. So her back 4-3 down 4 is -11 on guard. But the answer to this move is, if you think they're going to do that, never guard it. Never guard this move, because the pushback makes it safe, even though it is -11. Characters are not able to punish this because of the pushback on the move. And I don't know anyone who's got an 11 frame while sending Punisher that has the range to punish this. So there might be someone, but a generic while sending 4 is not able to punish this move. Regardless though, even if you do have an 11 frame that can punish this, the answer to that is low parry. You want to low parry this. You want to low parry that if you think they're going to do it. Don't ever try and guard the low if you think it's coming. Always go for the low parry and get a combo afterwards. And on hit, it's worth noting that this is +3. So if it does hit the opponent, get a little bit of frame advantage there, able to continue your offense. And the next move afterwards is down, back 4-3, down 4-4, which you might recognize. It's that infamous knee that we've grown accustomed to. Like the other ones, it's -11 on guard. Let me record that so you can see. And you get a full combo by doing 4-2-3-4 if it hits the opponent. So the mix up from that, don't ever do that. That's -20. If you're going to mix them up with that, you're going to use down 4 and down 4-4. So, you know, this string has uses. Between the first two is being safe, natural combo, a little bit of frame advantage on hit, and the mix-up afterwards. You can induce a little bit of hesitation. Definitely nowhere near one of her top 5 moves, but it's there. Back 1+2, there's really nothing else to say about this move outside of this punishment. You're not going to use this move very often. It does beat sidestep attempts to your right side, but all in all, you're not going to be using it very much. Okay, her sway back flip. So let's talk about these. So, this back sway here, it kind of has two different uses. It has a use from standing, and it has a use from canceling into it off of her while standing 2-1, which we didn't talk too much about yet, but I would like to go over some of its implications now. So the back +3/+4, which is her back sway. This sway has 2 moves and 1 transition from it. Let me actually record this so you can see. Oops. One of these days I'll get that right. So there are 2 moves from it, and both of these moves will catch any opponent who tries to sidestep to your right side. It has to have endurance so that I can do. However, it does not cover tracking to the opposing side. That is her back sway 1 and her back sway 2. So back sway 1 is a high launcher. Essentially, this in neutral, you would be using back sway 1 against certain strings. It's usable against certain strings. There are some strings where you can do this, and it will cause a certain hit of it to whiff, and you can actually launch the opponent for it. For example, if you block the first hit of Leo's back 1 and immediately do this sway, the 4 back 1 4, the 4 would whiff, and you can get this guaranteed before she could do it. any move at it. So it's really, really useful in situations like that, assuming that you're just unable to sidestep that move. But keep in mind that this move is a minus 13. This move is it's minus 13 and it's a high, so it's also duckable. So it's definitely not. There's a lot of risk to this move. You're not going to be, and honestly, you will rarely use this. It exists, but you will not use this much at all, and the range is subpar. She also has her back sway too, which this move, it tracks the same way. It's got a little bit more range to it, as you can see. On regular hit, it gives that kind of cool looking knockdown, but it only launches on counter hit. Only on counter hit do you get a combo from this move, and you get that with down 3-4, forward 1-3, like so. Let's see. So if for whatever reason you were to do this in neutral, you need to. If you were to pick between these two, this would probably be your best friend. But again, it's just not something. Neither of these moves you're going to be doing very often in neutral. Although it does look really cool. One thing I should mention though, one use it does have, is say if you for whatever reason do it from this range, you can cancel into her. You can cancel into her crouch dash by holding forward. So you can get into crouch dash from it. It's a gimmick for the most part, but it does exist. It does exist. You know, sometimes they'll see the backstory and like, oops, they're gonna crouch dash from it, and then you don't do it. That sort of thing. It's all a gimmick, but it exists. It exists. Keep that in mind. But it is also what we use from this in order to get that easy combo off of her while setting to 1 that we had discussed earlier. Now, which I'm actually going to. Should I do that now? Now, let's wait till we get to the while sending punishers part, so that you can see how I want to separate this move's usage in neutral from while sending. So we'll talk about that there. Let's see what we have here. Spiral Tap. This is a high unblockable. It's really unusable. This is just you're trying to style your opponent, and you do get a combo from it. But it's just way too slow. This is just one of those when you're going for style points. That's all this is. High unblockable. You just gotta duck it, and you're doomed. Oh boy. This move. So this is the infamous Butterfly Edge. This, again, I would say one of her top 5 moves. This move is not spammable. I'm just going to record a sequence so that you can see. Let's just have her do something like this. So, it can be done in the reverse direction by doing up back +3, in the neutral direction by doing up +3, and see forward a little bit by holding up forward +3. Now this move is linear. It does not have good tracking, but it has many uses. So as you know, it will crush lows, and on occasion as well, depending on how you time it, at the apex of her jump arc, it will crush mids as well. She actually goes really high up. Let's see, as a matter of fact, let me demonstrate that now. As you see there. But it is, she does have to approach the apex in order to get that mid crush. Because if I were to do, say, that really, bear with me here. I'm going to see, how can I show that so that you can see that the mid crush is not absolute. The mid crush is not absolute. Let me try doing something like this. There we go. Standing 3-3. I had to do something just a little bit faster. So it will not go over all mids if she is not high enough. It's most acceptable actually to highs. It is very floaty, so be careful. It can be floated easily with just a jab. Very, very easily. So if your opponent prefers highs, highs are more likely to float that than anything. But as you can see, this move is really, really fantastic. It can go over mids, it will consistently go over lows. And it is a combo with either forward 3 or simply just by going into her down 3-4 and then converting from that. For consistency's sake, I would recommend that you just do down 3-4 into her combo ready. Let's see. So really, really easy combo with that. Also at the wall, for consistency at the wall, up 4 plus 3 plus 4 will also give you a combo if the wall is behind. In terms of consistency, you can do like your regular wall stuff there, but it's a little bit more wonky. Now keep in mind that you do get stuff at the wall if Butterfly Edge hits the opponent there as well. But this move is it's abusable, but just not spammable, you know? It's also good against grounded opponents. If they're trying to do wake-up moves, this will beat, this can actually jump over wake-up mid, or mid get-up kicks on occasion. So this is a really, really good way to, or a really, really good move to implement to your Okazemi as well. If you're expecting them to wake up into a crouch guard or wake up with an attack, excellent for that. So Butterfly Edge, very, very good move. And it will get you out of quite a bit of tight spots, but it's not super duper reliable. While it is safe on guard at -8, keep in mind you can be floated from it. You can be floated from it, and it's got a really slow startup at 28 frames, and the range on it is not very good. And also it is extremely linear, so you got to be responsible when using this move. Let's see, up 4 plus 4. This is just her hop kick. Crushes lows. On rare occasion, will crush highs. But this is just as generic as the hop kick as you can get. Let's see, you get a combo. Oops, you do get a combo. Doing something like that, and really not much else to say about it. It's just a run-of-the-mill hop kick. Let's see, rapid double knee up 4 plus 3 plus 4. This is still, I would only recommend doing this as either a Punisher against moves that have pushback. It is fast, 14 frames, and it is mid, and it has good range. If the first knee whiffs, it should be noted that the startup is a little bit slower. I think it's 20, what does that say? 24 frames startup. The first knee whiffs. And it is not safe for guard at -13. But it is a good move, and it is a good Punisher. And it can be used as a whiff Punisher as from a distance as well. Even though typically this is what you would want to do, down 4 plus 2. But it does have its uses, and it's also a good, it is a good combo ender after a screw, and it will also give you a consistent combo at the wall by doing, say if you do a wall splat. I think this is her highest damaging wall splat combo. It would be wall splat, 4 plus 3, up 4 plus 3 plus 4, which we'll go over when we finish off with her wall game. 4 plus 3, or the Josie foot, as we call it on my stream. This is a good move. This is a very good move. It's actually my favorite move with the character, I think. Well, one of my favorite moves, I should say. Maybe not my favorite. But this move, so it's a long range mid. It's got really, really good range. It's got 24 frames startup, so there's some a bit of sluggishness to it. You can extend the range by doing forward, forward, hold forward. You can actually really oops, a little bit too far there. Really extend the move like that. So it's a terrific move to approach the opponent with if they are not sidestepping too much. This move is linear. On hit, it gives you a knockdown. It doesn't do... Man, my voice is cracking up already. Let me get a sip of water. There we go. So, it gives you a knockdown on regular hit and on counter hit. It also gives you a wall splat at the wall. Man, some of that water squirted out the bottle there. It's all good. But, see, the beauty of this move also, not only is it great for approaching the opponent when they're not sidestepping you too much at, I'd say about this range. It's really, really good for approaching. It is also +6 on guard. +6 on guard, and you are this close to them. So you can do just about whatever you want to if they guard this move. It's a good time to go for, as you think they're going to, if for some reason they're going to try and mash, it's a good time to go for 4 + 3 + 4. Continue your offense with your down force. It's also a good time to, you can actually get away with doing something like crouch dash 3 there, because usually people will hesitate in this situation. But it's also a great time to go for a grab. A grab would be uninterruptible in this case, assuming they don't do something like hop kick. So 4 + 3, really, really good. I would say staple move, one of my favorite moves. And a really, really great tool in terms to approach your opponent. Like we were saying earlier, this is a good way to get in on the opponent relatively safely. Your biggest risk would be if they sidestep. If they sidestep it, you're in trouble. You're probably going to get launched, but definitely too good of a move not to use. Just make sure that you're not playing too linear of a game, and you don't have the opponent in a situation where they are not afraid to sidestep. Once you have induced that fear, 4 + 3 is a very, very fantastic move. And the way you can induce that fear, actually, is by this move that just got recently buffed, 4 + 4. Let's see. So 4 + 4. This is her longest range homing move. If you hold the forward, so say if I'm at this range, similar to 4 + 3. If I do forward, hold forward, let her take a step forward, and then press 4, you will see that will come out. So this move is another great move. That is really, really, just a fantastic way to approach the opponent. The actual startup frames of this, at fastest, are 16 frames, which you're not going to get due to the forward input. But it's unseeable. It's got really fast startup. It is safe on guard at -9. Let's see. But the best thing about this move is, on counter hit, it is a launcher. So not only on regular hit is it a good knockdown mid, which is also, by the way, a good opportunity for you to do 4 + 3 if they were to simply stand up there. On counter hit, you get a combo by doing this. Remember this, because this is going to be the combo that you want to do in open grab. So when it hits, your combo looks like this. And that combo goes as follows. So the 4 + 4 counter hits. You want to take a tiny step forward and do a while standing 3. So it would just be step forward, duck really quickly. You can just hold down forward, let go, and then mash 3. Like that. Then a standing forward jab, forward 1 jab, forward 1 + 2, and then 1 2 4, hold forward to go into your crouch dash 3 immediately, like this. So you may have to split apart this combo to make sure you understand every part. But again, in motion, it looks like this. make sure you do a tiny dash. Make sure you get that tiny dash. Like that. Really, really damaging combo. 65. So 4 plus 4. Fantastic for catching people sidestepping. For catching people sidestepping, for catching people mashing buttons while you're trying to come in at a range. Super good. You got to use this one. This is another one of those. I think I would say this is in her top 5 moves as well. Personally, it's just way, way too good not to use. And you will be using that move a lot. And alright, so we are now at her crouch dash moves. We finally get to discussing these. Crouch dash 1, 3. So this move is a natural combo, as you can see there. The range on it is not too good. It's pretty much you would have to crouch dash in their face in order to get it to hit, because that elbow does not have range in of itself. It is hit confirmable if the 1 hits. The 1 by itself is very safe at -4, and so is the second hit, the 3 extension, at -9. But this is a really, really, it goes without saying, this is a high, so more than likely you're not going to be doing this from her crouch dash mix-ups. Correction, you're never going to be doing this. It is worth noting, I suppose, that this does track both ways, that elbow. So it can catch people sidestepping, but in general, you're really not going to be using that move. This move's use is for doing, like, combos. It's what you've seen us do repeatedly throughout this tutorial video. You've seen us do it here, from here. You're going to be using that primarily to get a screw and combos, for consistent combos. And now the 2 moves that really matter from this stance. This is somewhat more risky in terms of how you approach the opponent, but again, you got to use these moves. So the first one I want to talk about is her crouch dash. So crouch dash 3 is really, 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 really good low. Staple move for Josie player. Not sure if I would say top 5 moves. I probably would, honestly, but if not top 5, absolutely top 10. You're going to be using this move a lot. So this low is more often than not, they will not be able to see this low. They will see the crouch dash, and if they low guard this, they anticipate the low coming out of it. Rarely, well, your opponent, they cannot see the low in of itself and say, oh, that's the low, and guard low. That's not how that works. Usually they just see her entering her crouch dash and assume the low is coming out. So the low on guard is a -13. Most characters cannot punish it too hard. Again, certain ones can. One being Josie herself, which is something else that is fantastic about her. But for the most part, most other characters would be better off low parrying this in order to get a better punish on it. But it's got really, really good range. It is excuse me. If you're the one on defense, you can sidestep it to your left side, but it would catch you if you're going this way. But it can be, say, if you're defending against the Josie, you're trying to sidestep that move in particular, to your left is the way that you would want to go. But it will catch your opponent sidestepping in the other direction. So not highly punishable by most of the casts. Leaves you at +4. It's got just absolutely fantastic range, especially if you delay the crouch dash. Just look at that. She runs in on them. This is another tool that you can implement with your approach from this range. Moves like 4/4 + 3 and 4/4 + 4. In fact, if you really want to mess with the opponent, you can do an empty crouch dash, just forward neutral, down, down, forward, and then do one of the 2 moves we talked about previously, like this. Oops. Which is really easy to do when you're not making videos Really easy to do like that. Although that will not be your primary mix-up, but you get the idea. Also, not only is it +4 in regular hit, and leaving you at a range where you are absolutely free to continue your offense, albeit they can still sidestep. Keep that in mind. On counter hits, down +3/+4 is guaranteed. She does have other things that she can do, but the damage difference is pretty insignificant. Usually, this is what you would do. It's just down +3/+4 afterwards. She can get another one in there, which gives you 2 more points of damage. I think this is also guaranteed. It is at the most damage, being 47. And that was just a quick full crouch down +4/+4. So if you're going to do something though, I would just highly recommend that you just do down +3/+4. The damage difference is highly insignificant, and it's the easiest thing to do, especially when you're in match and you're trying not to drop combos. But, you know, if you were to do something else afterwards, practice it, you can do this. Nothing wrong with doing this either. One I would probably advise you away from the most would be a second crouch dash +3, but none of them, don't get me wrong, none of them are bad options. There's nothing wrong with doing any of the three. Next up, man, the big one. Her crouch dash 2. So her crouch dash 2, first let me go ahead and get this out of the way. As you've seen right there, it is -14 on guard. -14 on guard. It comes out, I think it comes out at just a little bit slower than her crouch dash 3 does. Let's see. There's somewhat of a high crush window in it, and when you get this, you get a really easy and beefy combo. So it goes without saying, your mix-up from this crouch dash, your big mix-up is going to be your crouch dash 3 or crouch dash 2. Once you've conditioned the opponent not to sidestep, you know, using your homing moves and what have you. Sidestep, for crouch dash 2, it has a tiny bit of tracking, but for the most part, it is steppable in both directions, so keep that in mind. And if they sidewalk, it's just simply going to miss. So, you know, it's a little bit linear. We'll catch them trying to sidewalk every once in a while, especially if you delay it, I will say. But man, you've got to use this move. This is, oftentimes, assuming you don't have race drive, your opponent will not duck your crouch dash because of the fear of the 2 extension, and which the combo from when this hits the opponent, your crouch dash 2, there are many combo variations, but I'm going to show you the one that you should be doing, the consistent one. When this hits, you want to do forward 3 times into her 3-3, dash up for 2-3-4. Also, you can do, well, I'll show you. Even though I just said it to myself. Oh man. Not a hard combo, trust me. Not a hard combo. Dash up, boom, boom. There you go. Just like that. You can land this as well. Just me being scrubby. But that dash is way tighter. I recommend to you just 3 forward 3s for standing 3-3, dash up. Make sure it's a deep dash, which you will get that to happen. 3-3, dash up for 2-3-4, just like that. And you can mash those standing 3s. So the moment this hits, mash it. You can mash forward, you can just hold forward, mash 3. After the third one hits, just do her standing 3-3 and do a deep dash and do forward 2-3-4. Not the highest damage combo she can do from this, but easily her most consistent combo she can do for 69 damage. So I don't see why you wouldn't do that one. Or the 69.
by far your easiest combo to do. And you can just mash out the first part of that combo. Let's see. So between these two moves, from the crouch dash, you have a mix-up in of itself. And again, they're just both fantastic tools to approach the opponent. Target slash. This is just her running 3. So this is very plus on guard. It is steppable in both directions. You can do it point blank by doing forward, neutral, and during the animation of this forward step, doing forward, forward plus 3 as an instant while running move, like that. Which could take some practice, but on guard it's very plus. I think it's like let's see, what was it? Plus 9. Let's see, Tekken bot is saying it is plus 6 on guard. It probably varies depending on the distance at which they guarded it. But say if you're ever at this range and you're trying to do a forward plus 3, sometimes this will come out, so regardless, you're going to get a good move. Just keep in mind it can be sidestep. It does low crush, but super solid mid. Great for approaching the opponent as well from a distance, and allows you to continue your offense on hit or on guard. So next up, man, we're almost done. We are at her while standing moves. Look at that one, that's adorable. Oh, I should mention, if you're ever going to crouch dash and say if you delay it and you just kind of want to, you know, check the opponent to see if they attempted to do a low guard right there. It's not on the command list, but crouch dash 4, which is pretty much your while standing forward, does exist, and it is a safe mid. It's good to do here and there, just as a safe thing to do out of her crouch dash, and it also has decent range. I feel like the range on this is slightly better than when she does it from a while standing state, which it is primarily due to the dash part of the animation itself. So that is just a good mid to keep them in check. It's like, okay, you know, it was the attempting to duck my crouch dash 2 here. Because you do have to keep in mind, that is, like we said, minus 14. So there are going to be situations where these get guarded and punished, but you've got to use them. You've got to use them. Really, really, really good moves. Really, really staple moves at, you know, around this range. You're going to be using all these crouch dash moves, like, around here. Right around here. These are moves that you want to use to approach them more than anything else. Alright, so now her while standing moves. While standing 1. This move is good. So it comes out in 13 frames. It is a mid that is safe from guard at minus 4. It is sidesteppable in both directions. This move does not track. However, if you can catch the opponent, so this move does very little on regular hit. You know, it may not look like much here. This move, if you ever counter hit the opponent with this move, they are in trouble. They are in trouble. Because on counter hit, you are at plus 14, and they cannot guard during this 14 frame. Which means, if this move counters, this is guaranteed. So on counter hit, oops, if you do it fast enough, it becomes a 63 damage counter hit mid. That's safe. So really, really good. While it's not a punisher, but it is a good while standing move. So in neutral, if you're trying to fish for it, say like if you're just trying to get underneath a high, you think they're going to mash out, you can just quickly duck and do a while standing 1 for a high damaging counter hit move. And also, if you remember what we said about her forward 1+2 earlier, when you have rage, you probably understand the implications of this. If this move counter hits the opponent while you have rage, you're probably getting ready to turn the game around and win. Oops. You have to be quick. You have to be quick. So you can mash out that forward 1+2. That is all guaranteed off of a counter hit while standing 1. So essentially, what we did there is we just did our rage combo for 1+2 after the counter hit while standing 1. Look out for this animation here. Look out for this animation. This move can bring you back from the grave when you are low on health. Look at that damage. That is insane. Off of an easy combo. And again, all we did was while standing 1, forward for 4+2, rage drive, standing 4, 2, 3, 4, dash up for 2, 3, 4. Easy combo. It's not as hard as it looks. It's just a little bit of memorization, but you've got to use it. This can, when you have rage while standing 1, and win you the game and get you out of a terrible situation. Back to guard off for the second one. So keep that in mind with while standing. Good move. Okay, so we already talked about while standing 1, 2. A few things I would like to mention about it. Were you to do this in neutral? Say if see, is this move even? There's a move that has not been mentioned on the command list. Down here. We're going to get so. See, there is kind of a use for this in neutral, but you're not going to be doing it much there. But I will just briefly go over it. Actually, for the sake of fairness, let me say, don't think about this move in neutral, if you would do me that favor. But I will say that this move does have, there is some tracking to it. Oops. Do not know why they did that. But this move, the second hit can catch you sidestepping this way. On occasion, but overall, the tracking for this mainly will catch you if you're going the opposite direction. If you're the defender, to your left side, it covers the opposing Josie's right side. Anyway, so we already talked about this move as a punisher, and again, it's just a really good, fantastic 13 frame while standing launcher, and the conversion is a tiny micro dash into a down 3-4. So you barely even see it. It's just the simplest inch form into down 3-4. Get a combo. But and I know we also went over this as an easy combo while sending 2-1 or back 4+3, which you're just essentially transitioning into crouch dash and getting a guaranteed. However, there is something, I know we talked about some of the gimmicks activities of if you do this option, you can get this indefinitely. If they do not, why they have to stand up. Essentially, when that hits, if they don't stand up, you can do a down 4. You can do a down 4, and if they teched, the sequence would be something like this. Do that, and if they tech roll and try to attempt to do a wake-up move, yes, you can see that they teched, and you can guard any wake-up attack that they do. Let's see if I can show that. I'm trying to demonstrate so you can see what that looks like. I think I did this right. Not quite. Not quite again. Essentially, the secret would be they would have to tech roll and go into a while standing move. But I'm not quite sure how to set it up here. But the essence of it is if you do this, do a down 4 immediately afterwards, and they were to tech and try and punish, you know, what's like a while standing 4, you could still guard it in time. So that is a down 4 is a very safe move to do after this. Now, if you don't do it fast enough, you will notice they don't pop up. They actually scoot along the ground, in which case, down 4 is probably not your best option. What you want to do is you need the pop like that. And if they don't tech, you can do those down 4s indefinitely. They're going to tech. Trust me, they're going to tech. No, but this is sort of like how you can check to see if they do. And when they're starting to tech that, that's when you can start implementing other forms of focus safety. So like down 4+4, as they're standing up, 4+3+4 after they're standing up is really good. Things like of that nature. Let's see. Also, it is worth noting this. So, while standing 2-1, let's talk about this move on guard for a second. So on guard by itself, it is -13. Not only is it -13, that second hit is a high. However, I would like to talk about some of the utility for for when they guard this and you do that, like the backswing, as if you were to go into that. Just to briefly show you. So what you want to be able to do is confirm whether or not, say if in your mind you're like, I'm going to do the backswing. You want to confirm, did it hit or did they guard? After you do that sequence right there. By the time you sway back, you need to see, okay, it hit crouch dash 3. Hold forward so I can get my crouch dash 3. However, it should also be noted that if they guard it, on occasion, this is not very reliable, but this will happen on occasion. You can sometimes make this safer, quote-unquote safer, by doing something like this. Let me show you. I might not have. There we go. So if you do this sequence, in fact, I'm not even going to do the so we said that was -13, that high. There are occasions when the opponent will guard that move. And they'll say, okay, do my 13 frame Punisher. If you hold her backswing into her forward, it high crushes completely. Like this entire sequence high crushes. And you can use this to, if you're really sharp with it, you can use this to essentially get like a free crouch dash 2 on the opponent. Let me show you what that looks like that. So they'll go for the 13 frame Punisher, and you can easily squeeze in a crouch dash 2. Or heck, if you want to, if you see the highs with, you can crouch dash 3, you can do the forward extension, but make sure that you are not doing it too fast. Because if you do, the high crush is mainly coming from the crouch dash itself. So there are some situations where, see how she got hit of it right there? You want to let the crouch dash ride out, go through the highs, and then do your That's how you get that to work like we saw earlier. So that is usable in that sense. However, just to illustrate some of the risks to doing that, Fight Stick is starting to give out on me. If they think you're going to do that move that was now -13 is now launch punishable. So keep that in mind. This is the other end of the coin there. In fact, if you're Josie, fun fact, you can actually just punish both options by doing a standing 3. But when you do this, you become highly susceptible mid-launchers. It's great if they're trying to oppose it with a high. You know, they want that solid 13 frame punish. It'll give you a chance to turn the table, sock the opponent again. But it's really gimmicky. Good to know, but you're not going to be able to rely on it. But it'll work once in a blue moon, so keep that in mind about that move. Let's see, we're almost at the end here, so let me just make sure I don't have anything else about that in my nose. There's a few more things I would like to say about the Okazumi of that move, but that'll be for another video at a later date. Maybe. Another video at a later date. Maybe. Raw standing. So this is a 16 frame raw standing move. See, and the tracking on it, so it's -7 on guard, gives a knockdown on regular hit. On counter hit, it is a combo, as with many of her knee-based counter hit ones, and some of the regular hit ones. For 2, 3, 4 will give you a full combo on counter hits. Not the biggest combo, but you get the idea. See, so you won't really use this in terms of punishment ever. This is only 16 frames, but it is a safe mid to do to mix up your opponent from full crouch. In fact, there are some situations where it can be usable while the opponent's on the ground. Say if they were to do a wake up mid move or a wake up attack in general, this would counter hit them and give you a combo. Let's see. So, and also it has very good tracking. In fact, the only way you can get past this move is you have to walk it to your left side. Let me show you really quick. Move has to be walked to your left. If you were the one defending against it. Something like this, so we can get a clean demonstration. So see, if I attempt to sidestep left, it will catch me. But if I walk it to the left, I can get past it. So it's good for catching steppers. But to the right side, you cannot even walk it. Sidestep and sidewalk, you'll get hit. So it has really, really good tracking. It is a usable move. Safe, mid, counter hit launcher, and it has to be sidewalk in order to be avoided. And, let's see, is this the next move on here? Let's see. What I really want to talk about. What justifies this move. I kind of hate this so far in the command list because this move, again, top 10 moves. This is a very important move. So, Mr. Full Crouch, down forward, +4. This is a great low. So this low here. The song's a little bit. Let's skip this. So it's really unsafe on guard. It is -15. But, again, it's one of those too good not to use lows. So it has really, really good range, for one. Super good range. On counter hits, down +3, +4 is guaranteed. And it's the easiest move that is guaranteed. At all ranges and at all angles. Making for a nice, beefy 46 damage mini combo off of a unseeable low. What you want to practice doing is holding down and then immediately doing down forward. Like you want to be able to do a sequence like this. Look at the range of that low. Let's see. If you're the one defending against it, you can step it to your right side, but it will catch you if you try and go to your left side. It's +1 on regular hits, so it's not too plus, you know. But you know, there's a little bit of plus frame advantage there. All in all, the low is not seeable. However, it is very crucial. It hits the opponent on the ground as well. And you can essentially mix up your opponent. Say if you were to duck in their face, you can mix them up. Say if you get like right about this range, you can essentially get a free mix-up. A safe mid counter hit launcher. And full crouch down forward +4. Look at the range of that. That is insane. So these two can define like your full crouch mix-up game for the most part. Also, like you can even do like because of this move is what will make the opponent duck when they see you crouch. So again, I hate this is so late into the tutorial because it's such an important move. Things like that, you know, up forward +3, you know, can be like you can duck in their face, let them see you wiggle a little bit, and you can do up forward plus 3, for example. If you think they're going to try and sidestep it, you can just do while standing 3. If they try and interrupt it, and they get counter hit while standing 3, we'll give you a combo. They try and interrupt this, and they're too slow. That gives you a combo. The only risk is, you know, if they duck it, it is launch punishment. And it will happen on occasion, but too good not to use. Just don't be too predictable. Do not be too predictable with it. This move is also part of your game plan in terms of Okazemi. When the opponent is on the ground, this will hit grounded opponents. And often what will happen is, in their scramble to try and get up, you can duck, and when they try and stand, you can do a while standing 3. It's like they're afraid of this move. So this move, super duper good. Practice being able to do it as fast as possible. Often I'll see people like they'll do it like a little bit too soon, and they'll get like a down forward. Just practice that down into down forward plus 4 sequence, so that you can get this to the point where the opponent really can't eyeball you attempting to do it, you know? See, one more thing I forgot to mention. This is not on the move list, but while she is crouching, if you do down forward, down forward really fast, she can do like this little step forward. It doesn't do anything in and of itself, but it can be used to like, you know, maybe make the opponent think that you're going to do this move and scoot you a little bit closer, but it's there. Not highly important, but it does exist. I'm messing it up here. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, so please forgive me. I've been sitting down a little bit too long as well. Let's see. Every time you went around, do this. There's nothing offensive about this taunt. It's just horrible. You should do it. It's very cute. If someone gets upset that you did this, there's something wrong with it, and nothing of value was lost. Her 10-hit string, there's nothing special to talk about in terms of it. Your opponent has 2 chances to low parry it, and I would say never do it. That's just me. We've already gone over her throws in the beginning. Oh man, I can't believe I almost forgot about this. Okay, so there's something else about Josie. This move is tight. So this move, this is some you know, higher level Tekken stuff. But she does have her 1+2 is a right punch parry. This move will parry electrics. It will parry a right punch in a string. I'm trying to, what would be a good example to show you? Say for example, you're in a mirror patch, and this is usually, situations like this are the best time to use it. And you're going up against a Josie who does the 2 extension a lot, which they will be because it's so good. You can use this to essentially, you know, get them off of you. Like, hey man, I am going to use this here. There are lots of characters who have strings that have a right punch. It's up to you as a Josie player, as someone who loves Josie, to go through a character's command list. Just set the opponent to do any string that has a right punch in it, a right arm in it, and see what can and what cannot be parried. And it also, of course, it'll work with stuff like down forward 2s. And interestingly enough, it does work on some 1+2 moves as well. It varies which ones that it does, but I'll have a link into the description to a YouTube channel that you should all be following that has lots of Josie tech that can further illustrate that. But keep in mind, she has a very, very high damaging 1+2 right punch parry. 1+2 right punch parry. Let's see, and man, we are at the end of her move list. There is one last thing I would like to go over, and that is her wall game. Let's see here. I need a sage with a... Forgive me, I know this really doesn't matter. I would just pick this one. This should be fine. just to talk about some of the things that she can do at the wall. Now, her wall game is pretty simple compared to most of the casts. Let's see. Go to restart settings, and we want the restart position to be at the wall. We can set this here. So, the first thing I want to discuss, as we were saying earlier, at the wall, her wall game is pretty straightforward. But the first thing I would like to illustrate is what her wall splat combos are. So if you ever splat the wall, there's essentially about 2 or 3 things you can do for a wall combo. The first one, let's see, her most damaging wall combo more than likely is going to be 4 plus 3, up 4 plus 3 plus 4. Like that. She also has down 4, 3, 4, which is the least consistent thing I would say she has on the wall. I wouldn't recommend doing that too much. All in all, I think I would say, go for 4 plus 3, up 4 plus 3 plus 4 in terms of raw damage. If you want super consistency, like something really, really consistent, down 4, 4, 3 is probably the most consistent thing she has at the wall. If you want something you just know will kill, you know it's going to hit. Especially, say, if you wall splat from a distance, and you're running in, and you just barely hit them with that. That's really, really good for catching them at the wall. Also, down 3, 4, 3 is also very consistent. Now, there are situations where this could take some practice, some getting used to, when you're going to splat them at the wall at an angle. And when you do that, she actually gets a little mini combo. Let me show you. That is her most consistent one. So say, what had happened there was, we created wall splat, and we were able to see, oh, I'm slightly off axis. You want to step in the direction that would put your Josie closer to the wall, so that your standing 3-3 will actually scoop them off the wall. And after that, because of the weird angle, what I would advise you to do, her most consistent combo ender is dash up back 4, 3, 4. Remember earlier we said there are some situations where that makes for a good ender for combos, and this is one of those, and it looks like that. In fact, there are some situations where you will do this, and the wall splat you will screw, and then they will hit the wall one more time. Back 4, 3, 4, dash back 4, 3, 4 would still all hit at the wall. Let's see, other things she has, 4, 2, 3, 4 hits at the wall. Let's see, back 4, 2, 3 is a really good wall splat combo. And to get the most damage, you get 4 extra points if you delay the last hit all the way, like this. That's a back, down back 4, 2, 3. I'm sorry, it's really early in the morning. Like that. Compared to if you just let it rip, notice it does 55 compared to 59. Let's see, some other combos that she has at the wall. If you ever land, say if you're approaching the opponent at the wall, they're afraid of your low and you land your rage drive, you can actually do what we said was her biggest wall damage combo, but with a little bit extra, like this. So essentially what we're going to do is her rage drive, 4 plus 1 plus 2, 4, 3, up 4 plus 3 plus 4, like this. Like that, for really, really, you still get, even though the wall's right there, this hits the opponent here, you still get all your rage drive damage. And that's pretty consistent as well for the most part, especially on stages that have even walls, flat walls. So keep that in mind. You're just adding in a 4 plus 1 plus 2, and then 4 plus 3, into your up 4 plus 3 plus 4 there. Get another sip of water, listen to my voice. Okay. what's next? So we talked about the raise drive at the wall. Now, again, some really good moves she has that will splat the opponent at the wall. When you have them here, 4+3+4 is very good. Let's see. Like, it's a safe mid wall splat. You get, you know, a nice, good chunk of damage in that situation. Let's see. Oh yeah, that will happen sometime, but that is not consistent to the point that I don't even want to talk about in this tutorial video. That's some crazy gimmicky stuff. Well, that'll be for another video, another time. Essentially though, if you can just stick with simple stuff like this, and that, or this at the wall, you'll be fine. She has tons of moves that she can use. After a wall splat. Let's see. Other things she has at the wall. If you have rage, you can simply go into your rage art. Oh, might help if I turn it on. Rage art. We're hit at the wall. Nice, quick damage. Usually it's not, you're not going to get too much more damage, but you know, if you really are certain that it'll kill, that's more often than not your most damaging option there. And it's also your easy option when you're just ready to go for it. It's wall splat into rage art. Let's see. Some other options now, outside of her wall combos. Let's see. So let's talk about her wall game in general, when she has the opponent at the wall. So the first thing that you always want to have in the back of your mind is, at the wall, her command grab, forward plus 3+4, becomes highly damaging. You're easily going to get over 60 points of damage almost off of pretty much anything you do at that point. There are some situations as well. Keep in mind that you can still get angled combos. Just be prepared for it when it does happen. Say if you grab them, like, see if I can show you at least once that still works. They can actually tech that in that situation, so that's another reason I did not want to discuss it too much. Nice, there we go. I didn't dash deep enough there, but that does work. That will hit. You have to make sure, you know, your dash is just really deep in there. So 4 plus 3 plus 4. If they are not focused at the wall, they will eat a lot of damage. Sometimes a regular grab will work, preferably a 1 grab, because a 2 grab will let them out the corner. They will be so concentrated on, oh man, here comes the wall splat grab. Let me mash your 1+2 that they won't even be looking at your hands, and the 1 grab will be guaranteed. Let's see. So that command grab super duper good at the wall. Down 4 plus 4. 4 becomes highly, much more viable here. Again, mixing up with this. If you do hit with this here, sometimes they will think to themselves, hey, now's my chance. And you will get a sequence where the 3 extension, the low hits, and this hits. Remember earlier we said that this armor move is actually usable at the wall. It gives you a wall splat like that for a really nice chunk of damage. Let's see. So switch her down 4 plus 4, super duper good at the wall. Let's see. Down 4, of course, you will still be at the wall. You will still be using this move. The opponent's going to be more reluctant than ever to duck you here. So down plus 4s, down 3 plus 1. Keep in mind these are safe unless they low parry it. These moves will switch stance 4 from 3 plus 4. Your command grab, down 4, your armor move. All of these will pretty much constitute your wall game. Even if they're really hesitating 4 plus 3 becomes good at the wall. Not only does it wall splat, but if they're just guarding, you're going to be at a highly advantageous situation with the plus frames from that move. Let's see. So one more thing I should mention in terms of her wall game. When you do get a wall splat, one more ender she does have is this, which is the one extension from the switch stance, which actually will cause them to flop over like this. And if they do not hold back when this happens, down plus 3 plus 4 is guaranteed. So if they're not paying attention to your combos, that could happen. They got to hold back, in which case, if they do hold back, you actually get terrific Okazemi from it. You can actually do another down forward plus 4, or what have you. Let's see, other things that are good at the wall. Down forward plus 3 is okay, since usually, again, the fear of mashing buttons here. See, 4 plus 4. This move is a decent wall game if the wall is behind them and you're just trying to approach. And it does wall splat as well. So this is one of your moves where, you know, you're not right upon them at the wall, but you're trying to approach them as they are at the wall. Her game plan does not change too much when she has the opponent cornered. Does not change too much. You'll probably just be doing more 4 plus 3 plus 4s. Let's see. From your switch stance, you're going to be throwing these out now. You've got this gimmicky armor move set up, and now your command grab is super duper good. Also keep in mind that, and her back one too actually gets better at the wall, because like we were saying earlier, that does create a wall splat. So this move can kind of be used to bully the opponent here. You know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. It can be their ticket out, but it does have its uses. Just keep in mind, if they're ever scooped off the wall like that, that is what you want to do. All in all, I'm sure there are things I am forgetting in this tutorial. Let's see. Forgive my stuttering. Forgive my misinputs, all that stuff. I'm very nervous doing this, and it is very, very late. But let's see. I hope this at least gets you started playing Josie. I'm sure there are things that I have forgotten, and I might have made a mistake or two in this tutorial video. My notes are a little bit of a mess right now, but if there's anything that anyone who's watching this knows that I forgot, please, anything that they know that I forgot that is super duper important, any mistake, like blaringly obviously mistake, please let me know. Please let me know. Perhaps I'll make a video highlighting those corrections. We'll see, but regardless, I hope this video helps you. I hope you enjoy playing Josie as much as I have been. She's definitely one of my favorite newcomers. I got really excited when I saw her trailer. But anyways, that's it for that. If you guys have any questions as well, you can just hit me up on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/CourtesVeritas. And let's see, you can just leave a question in the comment section below. It's usually harder to get me via YouTube, so if you ever can, keep it while I'm streaming. Good, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.